Chapter 2358, Lin Feng crushes saints. He waved his hands and his great demon halberd of desolation streaked across the sky. Lin Feng looked at Bei Shan Wang icily. A terrifyingly explosive qi emerged from his body and surrounded the great demon halberd of desolation. The great demon halberd of desolation was like the king of weapons. "I told you, those who dare stop me will die," said Lin Feng. Terrifying lights flashed around him. It felt like the atmosphere had been about to explode. The great demon halberd of desolation streaked across the sky and pressed forward with an indomitable will. Bei Shan Wang was astonished. If Lin Feng didn't take Qin Feng and Jing now, he would leave the matter at that. How arrogant. "Since it's that way, I'll respond to your request," said Bei Shan Wang in a cold and detached way. Instantly, more silhouettes flickered. All those people were saints. The crowd trembled. The world was gigantic, but it was extremely rare to see so many saints at the same time. Only the shrines and the supreme animal world had that many saints. The other groups usually only had a few. At that cultivation level, battles were incredible. Those people were usually quite old, too. They stood at the very top of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng looked at the saints, startled. Those people's celestial Tao was incredible. The stronger people were, the deepest their connection to nature was. One saint was already incredible, but several. Very good. "Let's see how strong the fire shrine is," said Lin Feng icily. Dazzling golden empty space lights flashed under his feet. Very quickly, a dazzling golden world appeared and enveloped everyone. Millions of dazzling threads of consciousness emerged from his third eye. Deployment spells, 1 millisecond and so many deployment spells, the crowd was trembling. At the beginning, they had sensed that Lin Feng's attacks contained deployment strength, now they could see it. Great deployment master's strength, 1 millisecond, and he can cast such terrifying deployment spells. He's not only a saint, he's also a great deployment master. Deployment lights surrounded everybody, the world became golden. Everybody was in a golden world, including the crowd. What a powerful deployment spell. The crowd was astonished. Someone touched the golden wall, it was extremely hard, like a golden rock or fortress. That person condensed strength and attacked the wall, but nothing happened. It can't be broken. I'm a cultivator at the top of the Shingdi layer, and I can't break it. I'm so weak compared to a saint, mumbled that person, astonished. Everybody around was astonished. That deployment spell was one of the 3,000 great deployment spells Lin Feng had learned, called the Great Atmosphere Sealing Imprint Deployment Spell. He had modified it with God's strength, it was even more resistant. Obviously, a saint emperor couldn't break it. Bei Shan Wang was stupefied. He realized how scary that deployment spell was. He raised his hand and put a finger on the golden wall, and a strand of golden strength broke apart. He ran towards Lin Feng, but when he started running, he realized that the golden strand had reappeared. Oh no! He suddenly thought of something. He looked at Jing and Qin Feng, but Lin Feng had already reacted. Right after having cast the deployment spell, he had taken them into his small world. He was the only one who could see inside that deployment spell, the others were blind in there. The man who was initially next to Qin Feng pulled a long face. He attacked a golden line, and it exploded, but when it disappeared, his face turned deathly pale. The great demon halberd of desolation was there, waiting for him. The great demon halberd of desolation beheaded him, then demon strength bombarded him and his body vanished. The great demon halberd of desolation continued releasing demon strength. Lin Feng looked like a demon god. He recalled the great demon halberd of desolation and looked at another saint, the one who had oppressed Jing. "The fire shrine forced me to do that," said Lin Feng flatly. His great demon halberd of desolation continued moving forwards, piercing through a golden pillar and punching through that cultivator's head like the hook of a fishing rod. The saint didn't have time to dodge, he died instantly. Lin Feng realized that Bei Shan Wang was also getting involved, charging forwards to kill him. However, Lin Feng just smiled icily. Bei Shan Wang was a low-level emperor, the fire shrine had underestimated him, and the consequences were going to be tragic. Lin Feng pierced through a golden pillar, it was his own deployment spell, it didn't stop him. He could do as he wished here. When Bei Shan Wang arrived where Qing Feng was supposed to be, he realized that she had already disappeared, Daimon had already taken her away. He turned around and looked at the sky, the best choice was to escape from there. Bei Shan Wang rose up into the air. However, at that moment, a terrifying strength surrounded him, and a gigantic fire shield appeared to protect him. The fire shield broke apart, the great demon halberd of desolation continued moving towards him. Bei Shan Wang turned around, shattered a pillar, and flew up again. He had been so startled that he was covered with cold sweat. How scary! There was a rumble and eruption as he broke through the deployment spell and flew higher up. Bei Shan Wang looked at the ground, seeing the gigantic golden deployment spell. If he hadn't come out, he would have died, because he couldn't see anything inside. Oh no, the others, Bei Shan Wang hissed. He was soaked with cold sweat. Other saints had come besides him. He was the only low-level saint in the group, but they had thought that he alone would be able to kill Lin Feng, nobody had thought things would turn out this way. A terrifying fire gathered in the sky. Bei Shan Wang condensed celestial Tao. A gigantic black hand appeared and descended from the sky. "Destroy!" shouted Bei Shan Wang furiously. The gigantic black hand smashed into the deployment spell from outside to help the others escape. At that moment, terrifying golden empty space strength swept everything away, and the sealed empty space deployment spell turned into illusionary empty space strength, it was as if it didn't exist. "No!" screamed Bei Shan Wang. He saw the terrifying great demon halberd of desolation streak across the sky. The others weren't as lucky, the gigantic black hand smashed down on so many people and killed them instantly. That was where Lin Feng was a moment before, but he had moved. People from the Fire Shrine and the Void Phoenix clan were there, so that gigantic black hand killed many of them. The destructive cloud slowly dispersed. However, another great deployment spell appeared. Bei Shan Wang looked at it, his mouth twitching. Lin Feng looked at him provokingly before disappearing into the great deployment spell. He could cast deployment spells in the blink of an eye. Bei Shan Wang felt powerless. "Uncle Bei Shan," said a saint, arriving next to Bei Shan Wang, one of his arms missing. Bei Shan Wang had done it with his gigantic black hand. Bei Shan Wang looked at him and said, "I'm so sorry for you, I feel so sorry I made you all come today." "Uncle, we must destroy him and the World Clan," said the saint. His eyes were filled with murder. At the same time, some chi rose in the distance. Maybe that the Fire Shrine had realized there was a terrifying cultivator here, so they had decided to send some backup. Chapter 2359, Ancient World's Hidden Strength. Bei Shan Wang and the saints of the Fire Shrine turned around and watched three people arrive. Bei Shan Wang pulled a long face. Those three people were his fellow disciples, all of them were extremely strong. They had probably seen saints' talismans break apart and rushed over. Even though they were here, Bei Shan Wang didn't look happy at all. Saints had died, and the worst thing was that he had killed them accidentally. It was a tragedy. If he went back to the Fire Shrine, he'd be reprimanded severely. "What's going on?" the three people asked. They were staring at Bei Shan Wang. He felt pressured, not physically, but on the inside. What to say? That a young man who had become a saint a short time ago was difficult to deal with. "Uncle, Daimon from the World Clan is a great deployment master, his deployment spells are terrifying and he can cast them within seconds. He put us in a cage and started chasing us to kill us. When I was inside, I couldn't see anything anymore. Uncle Bei Shan saved me," said the other saint. Bei Shanwang glanced at him. This little boy didn't disappoint him. Great deployment master, the few people said icily, is there anyone else? They're all dead, replied Bei Shanwang. He pulled a long face. So, let's destroy the deployment spell, said that person icily. Bei Shanwang nodded, that's what I was thinking. We break the deployment spell and we kill Daimon. Then, we can go to the World Clan, and destroy them as well. Otherwise, the consequences could be severe. Lin Feng could hear them perfectly. He was still holding the great demon halberd of desolation. The situation was getting dangerous. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine had arrived too quickly. They were all low-level saints, no weaker than Bei Shanwang, especially the one who had just talked. His qi seemed more powerful than the others. Even Bei Shanwang seemed to respect him. He couldn't do much against a group of people like that, even with the great demon halberd of desolation. Besides, the members of the fire shrine were shameless. They had caused trouble, they had prevented him from leaving, then he had protected himself, and now they wanted to destroy the World Clan. Lin Feng turned around and looked at someone in the deployment spell. It was Jing's father. Even though Lin Feng wanted to get rid of him, he was Jing's father, and if he died, she'd blame him. He landed in front of the man. Her father looked furious, but Lin Feng said, if you don't want to die, don't attack me, go now. Then, he grabbed him and rose up in the air. The middle-aged man was stunned. He saw some strong cultivators from the fire shrine. They were about to attack. Daimon, let me go, said the middle-aged man in relief. He almost felt grateful. Over there, shouted someone. The middle-aged man's silhouette flickered. He moved back. He saw a gigantic hand which moved towards the deployment spell and crush it. After the deployment spell broke apart, the attack continued pressing down. People in the deployment spell saw a terrifying destructive hand descending, their faces turning deathly pale. They were going to die. No, shouted people desperately, but it was too late. A low-level saint was too strong for them. People who weren't saints died instantly. They all died, one after another. Many people from the Void Phoenix clan perished. When the middle-aged man saw that, his face turned deathly pale and he pulled a long face. So many people from the Void Phoenix clan died, just because the strong cultivators of the fire shrine wanted to kill Daimon from the World Clan. Was it worth it? A gigantic great demon halberd of desolation streaked across the sky. When all the destructive strength dispersed, demon chi rose up. Lin Feng raised his head and stared at the saints of the fire shrine icily. Not bad, it's such a pity that you're from the World Clan though, said the strong cultivator next to Bei Shanwang, sighing. It was such a pity this guy was from the World Clan. They were enemies with the fire shrine, and he had killed people whose family name was Cheong. Such a genius was going to die. Lin Feng smiled coldly. Did they think they were going to kill him now? I think it's even worse to be from the fire shrine. So many people from the fire shrine died today. You think it's awesome to be from the fire shrine, replied Lin Feng mockingly. His interlocutor remained composed and replied, their deaths will lead to your death and the destruction of the World Clan. How arrogant, said a voice at that moment. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine were startled and spun around. They saw someone arrive slowly. His chi was terrifying and filled the air. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine were stupefied. The atmosphere around the new arrival seemed to be sealed. World strength. The Shriners' expressions changed suddenly. Someone from the World Clan had come. Did they think they could compete with the fire shrine? The air hummed and wavered. Strong cultivators arrived out of nowhere. The expressions of the fire shrine's members changed drastically, frowning and staring at all those people. Lin Feng was astonished, too. Those people were from the World Clan. Since when did the World Clan have so many saints? How strong is the World Clan? Last time, when I killed Cheong Jiu Tian, I was in danger, and the World Clan didn't send anyone. Now they're showing their real strength because the fire shrine is threatening me. Lin Feng was astonished. He hadn't thought the World Clan had become so strong. How strong is the World Clan? One of the fire shriners asked icily. You really consider yourselves unexcelled in the world? You despise the World Clan, said a strong cultivator flatly. The members of the fire shrine had to admit that it was the truth. So what do you intend to do now? Asked the one next to Bei Shan Wang coldly. The fire shrine said they wanted to destroy the World Clan. What do you think we want to do? The members of the fire shrine were even more astonished. Was the World Clan saying they wanted to destroy the fire shrine? The World Clan dares act that arrogantly. We have to be intransigent. You just said you wanted to destroy the World Clan. What should we do? TSK, 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 said the strong cultivator of the World Clan, smiling coldly. Even if the World Clan gets destroyed, you guys won't see it. The World Saints moved towards the Fire Saints together. Their world strength blotted out the sky. The Fire Saints were stupefied. One of them looked at Lin Feng and blurted out said, "Capture him." The air hummed. All the saints of the fire shrine threw themselves at Lin Feng. They wanted to capture him to threaten the World Clan. How cold! Lin Feng's great demon halberd of desolation swept out, and a demon Dao trail appeared in the sky. A terrifying fire hand imprint bombarded his demon strength and destroyed it. The fire saints flashed towards him as fast as lightning. Stay here, said the fire saints. Celestial Dao surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't escape anymore. Be careful. World lights encircled the fire saints. The strong cultivators of the World Clan flashed in and surrounded those people, but the members of the fire shrine were very fast. Go in. A cage of darkness emerged from Lin Feng's eyes and the fire saints ended up in a cage, but they destroyed it instantly. Die. A light beam dashed to the skies. Lin Feng released empty space and wind strength, then he condensed it in his great demon halberd of desolation and then his weapon hacked towards Bei Shan Wang. Piss off, shouted Bei Shan Wang furiously. A shield appeared, he wanted to block Lin Feng's attack, while at the same time, fire dragons appeared in his eyes. Lin Feng's soul shook and fire energies appeared inside him. A terrifying destructive strength surrounded Lin Feng. Bei Shan Wang's fellow disciples were too strong. Great empty space technique. Lin Feng released empty space strength and threw his great demon halberd of desolation at the same time towards Bei Shan Wang's shield. Bei Shan Wang moved back, but someone appeared just above him, attacking him from above. The great demon halberd of desolation pierced through his body, and his face went blank. Chapter 2360, Enigmatic and Unfathomable. Bei Shan Wang was attacked by a strong cultivator of the World Clan and Lin Feng together, and died. But Lin Feng was still in danger. He recalled his great demon halberd of desolation, and two more cultivators of the fire shrine attacked him. He used his great demon halberd of desolation again, but they destroyed the attack quickly. Lin Feng was already coughing blood as he was attacked repeatedly, his face turned deathly pale. If he hadn't had an immortal body, he would have died instantly. The saints of the World Clan arrived close enough to attack, their world lights surrounding the fire saints. The latter ended up in another world. The strong cultivators of the World Clan have a similar strength to mine. They use their worlds to deal with opponents. I can't even see anything with my godly awareness. He thought, impressed. The saints of the World Clan had completely disappeared into the world lights, which were flaring and surging. The battles inside were probably crazy. Come back, shouted Lin Feng to the great demon halberd of desolation. The great demon halberd of desolation came back into his hand. There were world lights where Bei Shan Wang was a minute before, so Lin Feng jumped into that ancient world. A world in a world. Lin Feng raised his head. It was a world and a strong cultivator's world, and they were fighting inside. The strong cultivators of the World Clan were incredible. Lin Feng didn't really understand them, but it seemed the strongest cultivator of the group of people from the World Clan had nothing to do, he was just blocking the members of the Fire Shrine. Seems like I underestimated the World Clan, he mused. No wonder that they had let Lin Feng walk around in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds as a member of the World Clan. They had been prepared already. The battle lasted for a long time before finally, the world lights flared a last time, dispersed, and the saints of the World Clan reappeared. Daimon, let's go, said a strong cultivator of the World Clan. World lights surrounded Lin Feng and they disappeared. Inside the other world, Lin Feng asked, did you kill all the saints of the Fire Shrine? Yes, we avoided killing just one or two, we killed them all at the same time. That way, when the Fire Shrine found out about it, it was already too late to come, replied the saint. Lin Feng was impressed. What a great strategy and result. It was difficult to kill everyone at the same time. The strong cultivators of the World Clan were enigmatic and unfathomable. But the Fire Shrine will know the World Clan killed their people, right? Asked Lin Feng. The issue is solved. Our strength resides in our hiding abilities. If we want to hide, even shrines can't find us, said the saint with a confident smile. Lin Feng agreed. World strength was incredible. They could indeed hide easily. Before they even arrived, they had already gotten ready to kill saints, otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to plan everything. The World Clan hid for such a long time, I didn't think you'd be so well prepared, Lin Feng grinned. Someone behind smiled at Lin Feng and said, the World Clan had been hiding for such a long time, but what about the cultivators of the World Clan? Maybe they were in the outside world, but didn't say they were from the World Clan. Lin Feng nodded, maybe. Maybe you are famous. Maybe if you told people your names, they'd know you. But nobody understands the details and nobody knows your real social status. They just consider you members of the World Clan. The World Clan has been waiting for an opportunity for such a long time. I initially wanted to wait for Lang Yi to become strong enough, but then you showed up, so we didn't wait for him. And it's better, this way, he doesn't have so much pressure. He'll need more time to become like us and catch up. What happened in the Void Phoenix clan spread throughout the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds quickly. People used jade talismans to communicate, so the news spread quickly. In a few days, many people received messages about it. It had been a very long time since something like that had happened in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. The Fire Shrine had lost 12 saints, including 4 low-level saints. It was a disaster for them. Some people started casting greedy eyes on the Void Phoenix clan, since their leader had been killed. And surprisingly, all of this had happened because of a young man who had shown up a few years before, Daimon from the World Clan. Back then, he had defeated Cheong Haya by the Mogia's battle stage. A few years had passed, and then he had become much stronger than Cheong Haya. Some people also said that he could kill half-saints alone, because he wasn't only a saint, he was also a great deployment master. The Fire Shrine was furious. They sent some high-level saints to the World Clan, but the World Clan had vanished. They were prepared, and the Fire Shrine couldn't find them anymore. This time, not only the Fire Shrine was astonished, but the other shrines, too. In a hall of the Ice and Snow Shrine, someone wearing a snow robe said to someone else, "What do you think about the World Clan?" The Fire Shrine and the others forgot how the World Clan disappeared back then during their golden age. They all despised the World Clan, and the consequences were tragic. So many years have passed, people from that era have all died, so people don't know how strong the World Clan was during the Golden Era. The Fire Shrine seems to have completely forgotten about it, said the other one, laughing. So many years had passed and the World Clan was starting to take their revenge. They wanted to destroy the Fire Shrine someday, too. I don't think the World Clan can be that strong. They might be able to compete with some shrines, but they can't destroy a shrine, someone countered. Who knows? Everything is possible in this world. Daimon was a big surprise. Besides, there are geniuses in every generation, including the World Clan. 1,000 years ago, where did that demon go? The mysterious 3 lives. Who was he? How strong was he? Asked another strong cultivator in a snow robe casually. Everybody remained silent and nodded. Anything was possible in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. I have the feeling that the imperial court won't be calm for much longer, murmured a cultivator in a snowy robe. The destiny wheel rotated, the forbidden person disappeared. Chu Chunqiu is in the supreme animal world. Daimon went to the supreme ancient pit of hell, came out alive and obtained the great demon halberd of desolation. The World Clan reappeared. How much longer will the continent be calm? The World Clan didn't know about what was going on there. They were in a dimly discernible mountain range surrounded by fog. It was a world in a world, the whole World Clan had moved there. The imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds was boundless, they had just chosen a random place. It was so vast, even the shrines couldn't find them easily. Lin Feng was in a world within a world. Next to him were 2 beautiful women, Jing and Qing Feng. Jing knew that Daimon was Lin Feng now, and was astonished. No wonder that Qing Feng was drawn to him, he was so strong. How is the Void Phoenix clan now? Asked Jing. It was her clan, even if they were cruel to her, she would miss them. The leader has been killed, many people died. But I released your father. The Void Phoenix clan is going to go through many hardships. The fire shrine might take control over it, replied Lin Feng. Jing remained silent. Indeed, the Void Phoenix clan had accepted an alliance with a shrine, it was a mistake. Daimon, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng turned around. This time, the fire shrine won't let the World Clan off. Do you intend to hide again? Asked Lin Feng. The other smiled and shook his head, no. We came out, and we won't continue hiding. When Lin Feng saw that smile, his heart twitched. He was amazed, how strong was the World Clan. And he didn't understand, if the World Clan could really compete with the shrines, why did they do things slowly? Why did they do things that way at all? Chapter 2361, Godly Weapon Master. On that day, a guest came to the World Clan, and the old man of the World Clan brought him to see Lin Feng. That young man was wearing clean white clothes with complex patterns that looked like constellations. His chi made him look extraordinary. I've heard that Daimon has slaughtered saints from the fire shrine recently. You must be Daimon. The young man smiled at Lin Feng, without waiting for the old man to introduce them. He looked like a respected scholar. I didn't slaughter saints. I just managed to kill some people who had just become saints, and it wasn't easy. Who are you? Asked Lin Feng. He was very curious. Behind that young man were some of the saints from the World Clan who had helped him kill the remaining saints of the fire shrine. They seemed to respect the young man a lot, which made Lin Feng even more curious. Daimon, you've spent some time in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds already, you must have heard about His Holiness Ao Tian. The old man of the World Clan smiled. Lin Feng was startled. He had read many books in the Fortune Shrine, and had obviously read about His Holiness Ao Tian. This person had really reached the very, very top of cultivation. He was really a peerless saint, a king of kings, a sage of sages. But he didn't like wealth and fame, and he rarely appeared in the continent of the 9 clouds. If he wanted to, he could easily create a shrine. And His Holiness Ao Tian had a nickname, the Godly Weapon Master. He was the only person in the whole world called that. He was the best weapon maker in the world. The Godly Weapon Master, murmured Lin Feng, looking at the old man. Indeed, His Holiness Ao Tian, the Godly Weapon Master, the old man beamed. The young man said to Lin Feng, Master Ao Tian has 3 main disciples. They're all weapon makers and they're really good at it. They can make incredible and powerful high-level saints weapons. This young man is Weapon Master Kong's disciple, Hua Yi. Weapon Master Kong is one of Master Ao Tian's 3 disciples. Weapon Master Kong, Lin Feng had heard that name before. Kong had an extremely advanced knowledge of empty space strength. He could make incredible saints weapons using empty space strength. His Holiness Ao Tian the godly weapon master was almost considered a god, and his disciples had received all his teachings. They also didn't appear often in the outside world. They all had an incredible prestige and influence, and could easily create an influential group, but the godly weapon master didn't want to. He preferred focusing on weapons. He wanted to surpass himself all the time, and create even more powerful weapons. Lin Feng was surprised. What was this young man doing here? If he was here in the World Clan today, it proved one thing: the World Clan had never really disappeared. Their members had just been traveling the world with different identities, not as members of the World Clan. I've heard great things of the godly weapon master. If I had the opportunity, I'd love to meet him in person, said Lin Feng, express his respect. But Hua Yi shook his head and smiled wryly. To tell you the truth, even I, as one of his disciples' disciple, I've only seen him once. Seeing him is almost impossible. The godly weapon master wants to make the most powerful weapons in the world, so he is in constant need of the best materials in the world and is constantly traveling. Seeing him is not easy, said the Saint of the World Clan. Weapon Master Kong had Hua Yi come to the World Clan to bring us weapons. It's already an incredible honor. You're too polite. And I'm just doing as my master asked me, Hua Yi replied calmly. Even though he was a saint and had an extraordinary social status, he wasn't proud and arrogant at all, but rather easygoing. The godly weapon master and all his disciples are very reliable, everybody knows that, said the Saint of the World Clan. That was also one of the reasons why they had so much prestige and influence, because many people ordered saints' weapons from them. It was mutually beneficial. When doing business, being reliable was essential. Therefore, even the most talented people in the world often gave the godly weapon master their best materials as gifts. In return, he made weapons for them. They didn't have to worry about him being greedy or anything. Come, let's walk and chat at the same time. The group of people began a tour of the World Clan. Hua Yi said to Lin Feng, Daimon, I've heard that when you killed the saints of the Fire Shrine, you used some incredible deployment spells. You must be a great deployment master already. There are many extremely strong cultivators in the world, but there are very few great deployment masters, and deployment spells are necessary to make weapons. I'm sure you could make great weapons. I am not a weapon maker. If I tried, it would have a negative impact on my cultivation, Lin Feng demurred. The only time I met my teacher's teacher, he said that on the path of cultivation, everything has the same root, and if you can return to the source, then you can do anything. Unfortunately, I'm not smart enough. I didn't manage to grasp what he meant. Nobody can compete with the godly weapon master in the world. He's a peerless cultivator, and incredibly strong, sighed the Saint of the World Clan. I suppose he means that weapon fabrication and cultivation are the same thing. Unfortunately, I am not talented enough. Maybe, said Hua Yi smiled. At that moment, the ground started trembling, as if an incredible strength was destroying the sky. The saints of the World Clan raised their heads, not surprised at all. The members of the Fire Shrine are faster than we thought. Fire Shrine, repeated Lin Feng, the World Clan has incredible hiding abilities. How did the Fire Shrine find us? If we didn't want them to find us, we would have naturally hidden better, said the saint, smiling meaningfully. Lin Feng was surprised. The World Clan had done that on purpose. Let's go. It's perfect timing anyway. The saint's weapons Hua Yi brought us today were precisely in prediction of the Fire Shrine's arrival. We'll try them out, said the Saint of the World Clan. Fissures appeared in the sky. A group of people passed through and arrived in the foggy and misty world of mountains. The saints of the fire shrine released a terrifying chi, one of them prominently. It was like he could burn the whole world within seconds with the power of his mind. The members of the fire shrine were shocked to see there was a saint of the world clan in front of them, looking quite calm. He was holding an empty space picture scroll. It seemed that the empty space picture scroll contained a world, with mountains and rivers inside. The most startling thing was that there was a strong cultivator inside, trying to destroy that world. "What kind of weapon is that?" asked a strong cultivator of the fire shrine coldly. "You want to have a look?" the saint of the world clan smiled. He released world lights, which surrounded him. He immediately disappeared, as mountains and rivers appeared and turned into a world. "Back!" shouted the intruders explosively. However, the saint of the world clan was standing at the top of a mountain and asked, "Where do you want to go?" The area finished turning into a world, and world strength spread out quickly. The world turned into a gigantic black hole. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine kept fleeing, but even with their speed, they could not escape, they could only tread space. "Go in," said the saint of the world clan coldly. World lights surrounded that cultivator. He was struggling to escape, but he was already in that picture scroll. He didn't know he was inside that terrifying saint's weapon already. "Let's go," said the other members of the fire shrine. They all released fireballs. "Since you came here, why would you want to leave?" asked the saint of the world clan with a cold smile. The world stretched across the sky and moved towards them faster than they could run. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine all pulled a long face. The world clan is already so strong, and they have such terrifying saints' weapons, how fearsome. Thought that saint. He continued running away while releasing fire strength around him. His fire was black and raged into the distance, and he finally managed to break free of the world lights. The others wanted to escape, but the saint of the world clan wasn't going to let them go, as his hand descended from the sky. He was a saint, he was incredibly strong. The intruders couldn't do anything but let go and let themselves get absorbed by the world of the saint's weapon. Chapter 2362, Three great disciples. The members of the fire shrine had come, and once again, it was a tragedy for them. Only one person managed to escape, a terrifyingly strong high-level saint. A breach slowly appeared in the world in front of him, and the saint of the fire shrine didn't dare to get close. He kept releasing fire strength. What a terrifying saint's weapon! He was staring at the world. That saint's weapon was dreadful, especially when a high-level saint used its full power. The fire shrine had lost once again. Their defeats were getting more and more tragic. Not many people from the fire shrine could actually compete with such a terrifying enemy. Besides, was he the strongest cultivator of the world clan? The world clan had disappeared for so long, how come they were so strong? "What do you intend to do with them?" demanded the saint of the fire shrine, staring at the weapon. The saints were still attacking, they didn't know they were in another world. "So, this time, I just wanted to tell the fire shrine that even if you're strong and are considered extremely strong, you keep provoking the world clan. You don't respect us, you even despise us. But, can you destroy us?" the saint of the world clan calmly. "Your shrine lost some saints, you lost face, you can't forget about it, so now you want to destroy us. But let me tell you, if the fire shrine continues trying to destroy the world clan, they'll just bring about their own destruction. I'm going to send those people back, but I hope that in the future, you'll remember that." The saint of the world clan waved his hand, and suddenly, he flung the strong cultivators of the fire shrine who were stuck in the weapons world away. They were all stunned, but as soon as they came out, they released a terrifying fire, turning the sky red. "Stop!" shouted the high-level saint sharply. He glanced at them and said, "You're shameless. Let's go back." The saints all pulled a long face. They were all incredible saints, the world clan had just humiliated and captured them. Now, they had to understand that if they continued provoking the World Clan, things would get worse. "I hope we'll meet again," said the high-level saint to the saint of the World Clan. He rolled up his sleeves, and the fire shriners turned around and left. Lin Feng watched all that. Only a short time passed. Among the saints of the World Clan who were next to him, one of them stepped forwards and smiled. "Teacher, will the fire shrine continue provoking us after what happened today?" "I don't know," said the saint, shaking his head. "However, I am convinced that unless they know how strong the World Clan really is, they won't try anything risky. They already lost twice, they won't lose thrice. Indeed, they won't offend us easily, I guess. We relied on Saint's weapons this time." "Hua Yi, please tell Weapon Master Kong that we're very grateful," said the saint, smiling at Hua Yi. He was very satisfied with that saint weapon. "We used your soul and vitality to make that weapon, that's why it's perfect for you. Besides, you also used World Dao, so the effects are perfect." "Anyways, no need to mention it again," replied Hua Yi affably. Alright, thank you. Also, tell him that when he makes the sword, we'll come personally as a sign of gratitude, no need for you to come to us. It's alright, he doesn't like agitation, he prefers tranquility. "I'll tell you when we have finished," said Hua Yi. No. Weapon Master Bing is a perfectionist. Only weapons can make him happy. "I remember last time, when your teacher and I went to see his friend, I waited there for 6 months before he talked to me, he was too busy making a weapon," said the high-level saint of the World Clan. Everybody understood he admired Weapon Master Bing. "You know how he is. My teacher is the same." "Was my teacher annoyed?" said Hua Yi. The saint grinned. "Indeed, your teacher was angry for a long time." My teacher mentioned it a few days ago again in front of his friend," said Hua Yi, shaking his head. "Alright, we're good for now. I'll go back and tell my teacher everything. You should stay in the World Clan for a few days, we're happy to have you around." "It's alright. I don't know what kind of schedule my teacher prepared for me, so I better go back," demurred Hua Yi. "Alright, next time then," conceded the saint of the World Clan politely. "Yes, we shall meet again soon," said Hua Yi with a wave. He smiled at Lin Feng and said, "Brother Daimon, when my teacher's colleague makes the weapon, you'll come too." "If I can, I will," Lin Feng agreed. Hua Yi rose up in the air and departed. The high-level saint watched him leave and whispered, "The godly Weapon Master's grand disciples are all so free and unrestrained. Master, is Weapon Master Bing going to make weapons in front of everybody?" Lin Feng asked. That was what he had just heard. Weapon Master Bing was one of the godly Weapon Master's disciples, and if he made weapons in public, many people would want to attend. Weapon Master Bing is the weakest of the 3 disciples, but he's also the most attentive one. He only thinks about weapons in life. He is very focused and meticulous, a perfectionist. He prefers making swords, spears, and halberds above all, sharp weapons. Weapon Master Kong is the second elder, he controls empty space energy, he's very strong. The third one is Weapon Master Ling, he chose the path of spirituality. He's the most talented of the 3. Initially, the godly Weapon Master just wanted 2 disciples, but after having recruited Weapon Master Bing and Weapon Master Kong, he realized that Weapon Master Ling was extraordinarily talented, so he recruited him as well. At the top of the hierarchy, it's not a secret that he's going to make weapons in public. People from the lower tiers of society will never know about it, though. Lin Feng nodded. He had heard of the 3 disciples, too. Weapon Master Bing was an insane weapon maker, indeed. His spears were extremely sharp and quick. He was a perfectionist, and couldn't stand it if his weapons had a single flaw. Many people had to be perfectionists to reach such levels. "I'm a bit surprised," mused Lin Feng. He didn't know about it because he wasn't high enough in terms of social status. Very few people knew about it in the continent of the 9 clouds. He has his own reasons. We'll see. In the world, there are many strong cultivators, and not just enemies, there are friends too, so it makes life a bit easier, said the high-level saint to Lin Feng. Indeed, Lin Feng had a forbidden body, the shrines couldn't learn about that. Even though the shrines have a very high social status in this world, it doesn't mean that they're invincible and that they can do whatever they want. They're also cautious. There are some people they don't dare offend. If you could appear in public with the people the shrines don't dare offend, then they wouldn't dare do anything to you, either. I understand, Lin Feng nodded. The saint was teaching him the social codes of the highest parts of society, and the godly weapon master was probably someone the shrines all feared. Chapter 2363, Provocation. As the World Clan expected, the fire shrine calmed down. The different groups of the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds finally realized that the World Clan was truly rising again. They had fought a few times, and amazed everyone. But the World Clan remained indifferent, as if their achievements were normal. 2 people left the World Clan and traveled east. In the eastern part of the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, there was a city called Qingming City. It stood alone in a boundless area, and even though their territory was gigantic, there wasn't many people there, and few people traveled there. However, many strong cultivators of the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds admired the city because there was a very famous person there, Weapon Master Bing, the godly Weapon Master's disciple. Weapon Master Bing was the symbol of that city. Many people were traveling to Qingming City, they were all extremely strong and extraordinary. They wanted to see Weapon Master Bing fabricate saints' weapons. When ordinary weapon makers made weapons, people weren't interested in watching, but Weapon Master Bing was the godly Weapon Master's disciple. He was very famous. He had made a few famous weapons, Supreme Yupek, Cassiopeia, Celestial Mythia, and so on. They were all famous and terrifying cultivators wielded them. He was a truly legendary weapon maker. In the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, many high-level saints ordered weapons from him. The godly weapon master's 3 disciples were all experts in their field, at the very top. There was a dimly discernible qi in one of Qingming City's districts. There were many restaurants, tea houses, and bars here, however, it was very calm. This place was near the Weapon Master Bing's territory. Lin Feng was seated in a tea house with the high-level saint of the World Clan, Gu Zhu. Only Gu Zhu and Lin Feng had come from the World Clan. Lin Feng glanced around, noting everybody around looked extraordinary. Those people usually never appeared in the outside world. When seeing them, one wouldn't know who they were, but when hearing their names, one knew. For example, Gu Zhu, he wasn't unknown in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, he was actually very famous. Many people had heard of Mr. Gu Zhu Shui, but very few people had seen him. Gu Zhu had been famous for a long time in the continent of the Nine Clouds, but because he hadn't appeared for a long time, many people didn't recognize him anymore. Even when he fought against the strong cultivators of the fire shrine, they didn't recognize him. "Brother Gu," someone called out. Lin Feng and Gu Zhu turned around and saw a few people. The leader of the group was wearing a robe similar to the one Hua Yi was wearing when he paid them a visit. Next to him was a sword cultivator, and Hua Yi was there, too. "Brother Kong," responded Gu Zhu, standing up and smiling. This was Weapon Master Kong, the godly Weapon Master's second disciple. In the distance, many people put their teacups down and stood up as a sign of respect. "No need to be so polite, everybody. I also came to watch my fellow disciple today. Make yourself at home," said Weapon Master Kong to the crowd. "Being able to see Weapon Master Bing and Weapon Master Kong today is an incredible honor," spoke up someone, smiling before sitting down again. Lin Feng had the biggest smile when he saw the crowd. This weapon maker was incredible. Weapon Master Kong sat down next to Gu Zhu and smiled. "I don't know what he wants to do this, why he invited people to come and watch. Weapon Master Bing must have an idea, Gu Zhu smiled. Then, he raised his head and looked at the sword cultivator next to Weapon Master Kong. He smiled and said, "If I'm not mistaken, this must be Master Cassiopei's disciple." Indeed, Cassiopei's descendant. Not many people know about Brother Tian Roa, he seldom appears in the outside world, confirmed Weapon Master Kong. Lin Feng was astonished. That sword cultivator was extremely young, and Weapon Master Kong called him brother. It meant that he had a social status equivalent to Gu Zhu's. Of course, he looked young, but he might be thousands of years old. Cassiopei's sword. Lin Feng suddenly remembered the ancient remains in Qi Tian Holy Town. He had found Qin Shan there back then. Master Tian Roa, I've heard of a Cassiopei's sword in dark clouds, is it related to you? Asked Lin Feng. He was curious. That was my elder fellow disciple. I've never seen him, but our teacher said he was incredible, a very good sword cultivator. Unfortunately, he didn't do things properly. He left, he wanted to create his own group, and in the end, he died abroad. When Lin Feng heard that reply, he was astonished. It meant that the real Cassiopei was their teacher and was extremely old. It also meant that Weapon Master Bing knew him a long time before since he had made a sword for him. It also meant that Weapon Master Bing was very old. Your teacher, old Master Cassiopei, didn't send anyone to investigate his death, asked Lin Feng. Why would he? Everybody can choose their own path, they just have to bear the responsibilities, replied Tian Roa Jian. Lin Feng sighed. At such cultivation levels, people were different. How lively. So many strong cultivators, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng was stupefied, he slowly turned around and frowned. A few people had arrived, one of them was a young man who looked valiant and heroic. His qi was extraordinary. Zhe Tian. Lin Feng was astonished. Zhe Tian was there in Qingming City. He was there to watch Weapon Master Bing. That little boy is becoming incredibly strong really quickly. He's already a Saint Emperor. Wow, thought Lin Feng. He was satisfied, though. Zhe Tian was progressing faster than he had. Lin Feng looked at the people next to Zhe Tian. They were all saints, but Lin Feng didn't know where they were from and why Zhe Tian was with them. Of course, little brother Zhe Tian, Weapon Master Bing, is the godly Weapon Master's disciple. He's a symbol in this world. The occasions to see them at work are rare, said someone next to Zhe Tian with a smile. Indeed, said Zhe Tian. He looked happy. It was great to be able to experience such things. Let's find a place to sit, said the strong cultivator next to Zhe Tian. They went to a table. They were about to sit when someone said aggressively, "Saints can come here, people who aren't saints yet should piss off. We don't have unlimited seats." Zhe Tian looked over at him and smiled. He had been traveling a lot these years and he had gone through a lot. He didn't get angry as easily as back in the days, especially on Weapon Master Bing's territory. I came because I admire Weapon Master Bing. I came with some masters. If there is another place for me to sit, I'll go and sit there, replied Zhe Tian neither haughtily nor humbly. I told you to piss off, said that person suddenly. The saint's qi was terrifying. Lin Feng frowned. Saints had to be controlled, few people were like that. Why was he provoking Zhe Tian? Chapter 2364, Revelation. The person next to Zhe Tian grunted coldly and said, "Your Excellency, you're going a bit too far, it's not your territory here." "Watch your words," said that person coldly. A terrifying saint's strength oppressed Zhe Tian, which made him groan. He released qi to protect himself, a golden armor appearing around him. That saint released empty space strength to surround Zhe Tian. Zhe Tian was stupefied, the strength took his away very quickly. The two saints with Zhe Tian turned around and said, "Zhe Tian, since they don't welcome you, you can leave. Alright, said Lin Zetian nodding. Then, he left quickly. He wasn't strong enough to be there, and he knew it. Go, said that person, releasing celestial Dao, a hand descending from the sky. Zetian pulled a long face. He hadn't thought a saint would bully him like this. Zetian condensed cosmic energies and a dazzling pure light appeared in his hand and streaked across the sky, ending in an explosion. The gigantic empty space hand broke apart and bombarded Zetian. He crashed onto the ground and coughed up blood, but he was still standing steadily. He was just a celestial emperor, but he has a particular strength which makes him look like a saint emperor. Not bad at all, that young man, murmured Weapon Master Kong, even I thought he was a saint emperor. But even if he isn't, he resisted a saint's attack, impressive. He's definitely as strong as a saint emperor. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't intervene because he wanted to see how strong his son was, but Zetian had to be quite strong anyway, he was Lin Feng's child, after all. At that moment, the saint who had just attacked walked towards Zetian, looking at him coldly. Zetian raised his head and looked back at him in a cold way. It's Weapon Master Bing's territory here, so I can't kill you. But since you dared offend me, I will cripple your cultivation, said the man coldly. Lin Feng stood up and walked towards Zetian, glancing at the two saints who had come with Zetian. They acted as if all this had nothing to do with them, which infuriated him. Since you know that it's Weapon Master Bing's territory here, why do you provoke people who didn't do anything to you? Why do you want to cripple his cultivation? Lin Feng interjected calmly. The saint glanced at him and smiled thinly. Daimon from the World Clan, all this has nothing to do with you. Don't get involved. I don't think Weapon Master Bing likes being disturbed, said Lin Feng, ignoring him. I told you, it has nothing to do with you, repeated that guy. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly turned pitch black, a cage appeared and that saint appeared inside. Die, said Lin Feng. A destructive death celestial Dao emerged from the cage of darkness, the saint suddenly felt confused and panic-stricken. Why was Daimon so aggressive? Daimon was trying to kill him. Stop, shouted a few people coldly. A few figures flickered. Empty space chi surrounded Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng took a step forwards, a pitch-black vortex appeared, waves swept out and carried everything away. Lin Feng detonated the vortex and explosions rent the air. The saint inside the cage exploded, but his soul was allowed to survive. Arg! That saint's body had been easily destroyed, and he was furious. But Lin Feng said calmly, since you don't care about disturbing Weapon Master Bing's cultivation, I am convinced nobody minds me getting involved. Lin Feng saw some people moving towards him, many saints surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng frowned. Those who had come with Zetian smiled coldly. Lin Feng had a bad premonition, he heard one of the people who encircled him say, as expected, like father, like son. Us members of the Fire Shrine knew it. Lin Feng was astonished. The man then said, Lin Feng, you're great at hiding and you progressed very quickly. Lin Feng. Many people looked astonished and excited. Even if those people were saints, they had all heard about Lin Feng, because back then, the Fire Shrine was looking for him everywhere since people suspected that he was a forbidden person. But they were still stunned. Lin Feng was Daimon from the World Clan. So he was the one who had finished first at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds back then? To ordinary people, a long time had passed since the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. For these saints, it felt like a few seconds only. Now that guy had already transcended worldliness and attained holiness. He was the one who had slaughtered saints in the Void Phoenix clan. How fearsome. Father. Zetian looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's chi changed, his face changed as he reverted back to Lin Feng. The shrines had joined hands to attack Zetian, which meant they had already guessed the truth. Lin Feng said to Zetian, Zetian, people's minds are unfathomable. In the future, be careful before trusting people. I understand, Father, Zhetian nodded. Then, he looked at the people with whom he had come and said, "You got close to me on purpose, to use me. Who are you?" "Empty space shrine," said one of them coldly. Zhetian said coldly, "You're from a shrine and you resort to such despicable methods? If he hadn't been my father, you would have crippled my cultivation groundlessly. Don't you have families?" "You're not qualified to speak with me," said one of them. Then, he looked at Gu Zhu and said, "The World Clan and Lin Feng have established connections. We don't mind, we are also willing to be friends with the World Clan and forget our tensions. However, you can't get involved in Lin Feng and the Fire Shrine's issues." He feared Gu Zhu, especially since Weapon Master Kong was next to Gu Zhu at that moment. Gu Zhu looked at Weapon Master Kong. Weapon Master Kong said indifferently, "You can do whatever you wish outside, but here is my fellow disciples' cultivation territory, we will not tolerate such behavior here. So please stop for now. What you do outside has nothing to do with me." The members of the shrines were stunned. Weapon Master Kong didn't give them any room to maneuver by saying that. They had to stop now, and give him face. "Weapon Master Kong, the issue with Lin Feng is of utter importance, please allow us some latitude," said a strong cultivator. Weapon Master Kong frowned and said, "You didn't understand what I just said." That person looked angry and said, "Since it's that way, we'll stop for now. When Weapon Master Bing is done making the weapon, we'll take care of him." They all left and went to different places in town. They didn't intend to let Lin Feng off, so they were watching the exits. Both Lin Feng and Daimon were supposed to die. In the end, they were one person, even better. It'd be easier to kill him. Lin Feng and Zhetian walked back to Weapon Master Kong. Lin Feng nodded at Weapon Master Kong and said, "Thank you very much, Master. I don't know many people in the continent of the Nine Clouds, especially younger people. But I've heard about Lin Feng and Daimon. I never thought you were the same person, and your son is surprisingly strong. Maybe you will both become very powerful and influential in the continent of the Nine Clouds," said Weapon Master Kong. "I really don't deserve so much praise, Master." "It's just the truth," said Weapon Master Kong, shaking his head. Tian Ruojian spoke up, "Indeed, it's very possible. I'm sure you have a forbidden body now, so it's not surprising that everybody wants to kill you. You're in danger." Tian Ruojian talked straightforwardly. Lin Feng really was in danger, the shrines wanted to kill him. "I understand," Lin Feng nodded. Now that the shrines had recognized him, he was really in danger. Even with the World Clan, he had too many enemies. "You should stay here for a while," Weapon Master Kong smiled. Lin Feng was startled at the offer. He looked at Weapon Master Kong's smile and nodded. Weapon Master Kong wanted to help him. Chapter 2365, Gathering of Strong Cultivators. Lin Feng and Weapon Master Kong were together. The shrines couldn't attack him, but they didn't intend to let him leave alive. Everybody was extraordinary there. They knew that if Lin Feng was a forbidden person, he could pose a threat to them. He would definitely destroy some shrines. More and more people arrived and sat down calmly. They just chatted. At that moment, in the distance, a figure appeared. The members of a specific shrine all stood up and looked at that person respectfully. Weapon Master Kong slowly turned around and looked at that person. That person looked at them and smiled. Weapon Master Kong, Tian Ruojian, Gu Zhu, Wu Ming. Weapon Master Kong and the others seemed surprised. The Empty Space Shrine had made him come personally. Wu Ming from the Empty Space Shrine, repeated many people around. They were all astonished, their hearts pounding. There were so many extremely strong people here. Weapon Master Kong, Wu Ming, and Tian Ruojian were very famous among saints. People who weren't saints never had the opportunity to see them. Wu Ming smiled at those people and nodded. He looked at Lin Feng and smiled sharply. Back then, when all the shrines wanted to kill you, they should have done it. Trying to see if you were determined, if you were really the forbidden person, etc. is boring. Killing you directly would have been much easier. Now it's getting more and more complicated. Lin Feng was grim. This man was referring to the first time when they had surrounded the Fortune Shrine. The Fire Shrine's leader could have easily killed him back then, but he hadn't because the leader of the Fortune Shrine had said that he would kill their geniuses, too. So, at that moment, the shrines had decided to establish a strategy first. Of course, if the leader of the Fire Shrine had known that Lin Feng would become so strong so quickly, he would have done much more to deal with Lin Feng earlier. He would have put the lives of the Fire Shrine's geniuses at stake without hesitation to get rid of Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng was a genius difficult to get rid of. He was a saint, and he was started to make connections at that level. The geniuses the Fire Shrine could have been sacrificed to get rid of Lin Feng were much weaker than him, so they would have been worth sacrificing. Wu Ming, you better not act blindly without thinking, said Gu Zhu. His figure flickered, and he was in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was startled. Gu Zhu was cautious, he had anticipated something could happen. If Wu Ming was as strong as Gu Zhu, he could indeed kill Lin Feng easily. Gu Zhu, you know I want to kill him, and nobody can prevent me from doing so, said Wu Ming in a cold and detached way. He took another step forward, but at that moment, sword strength suddenly surrounded him. Wu Ming looked over at Tian Ruojian, who was still seated there. Ruojian said icily, we're near Weapon Master Bing's cultivation territory. Weapon Master Bing doesn't want to be disturbed. He was disturbed a moment ago, it's not going to happen a second time. Tian Ruojian's teacher was the old Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia and Weapon Master Bing used to have excellent relations, as he had made Cassiopeia's weapons. Many years had passed and Cassiopeia had become a peerless saint. Weapon Master Bing was a high-level saint and focused on weapon fabrication, but even if it was that way, Tian Ruojian was a high-level saint and had an immense respect for him, he even called him master. When Weapon Master Bing became famous, many of the people who were present here weren't even born, including him. Weapon Master Bing had been stuck at that cultivation level for a very long time already. Wu Ming looked at Tian Ruojian and released energy that filled the air. But at the same time, his energies were being oppressed by Tian Ruojian's sword energies. The atmosphere became oppressive. Suddenly, the ground shook and a terrifying fire intent filled the air as a figure descended from the sky. Xiong Lin. Everybody looked at Xiong Lin, he was from the Fire Shrine. Initially, those people had come to watch Weapon Master Bing make a sword, they hadn't thought the situation would change because of Lin Feng's presence. Even if you're Cassiopeia's disciple, you can't act arrogantly in front of Shrine's members, stated Xiong Lin indifferently. Even though he was releasing fire strength, his voice sounded ice-cold. Tian Ruojian didn't say anything, he put his hand on the handle of his sword. Actions were more important than words. The Fire Shrine continues acting that arrogantly, someone laughed. That person appeared halfway up in the air. Xiong Lin and the others didn't seem surprised. The diviner. Lin Feng had met the diviner in the small world long ago. The diviner had given Lin Feng the impression he was enigmatic and unfathomable. He had never shown how strong he was. But if he was as strong as Gu Zhu and the others, back then, he would have probably arrived much faster when the Fire Shrine was chasing him. However, when Xiong Lin and the others saw him, Lin Feng noticed, from their facial expressions, that they were very cautious in his presence. Maradeva, your real body is done practicing cultivation. You're not qualified to stand before me, am I wrong? Said Xiong Lin indifferently. Lin Feng was astonished. Real body? Had the diviner practiced a cloning technique as well? Had Lin Feng always met the diviner's clones? What do you think? Asked the diviner calmly. Xiong Lin frowned and stared at him as if he were trying to see through him. Interesting. Wait until Weapon Master Bing is done making the weapon. We'll check that out, said Wu Ming indifferently. He looked at Lin Feng again, who had the impression he was going to be absorbed into an empty space. Indeed, the atmosphere was dividing. His body was being ripped apart as well. Sword strength suddenly filled the air. Come on, I was just joking, said Wu Ming, bursting into laughter. Then, he turned around and glanced at the members of the empty space shrine. He walked towards them and sat down as if nothing had happened. Lin Feng felt normal again, except he was now actually covered with cold sweat. High-level saints were terrifyingly strong. Like Gu Zhu, Wu Ming had become famous a long time before. Wu Ming's power is disintegration. He can create another space using empty space strength and make half of someone's body appear in that space while leaving the other part in the current world. That way, he rips people apart and kills them. What a terrifying power, thought Lin Feng. Wu Ming could kill low-level saints in a millisecond with the power of his mind. Saints were already powerful cultivators, but still, there were huge differences between them, too. How noisy. After my fellow disciple is done making the sword, it seems like there will be battles, said Weapon Master Kong with a smile. 2 high-level saints from 2 shrines wanted to kill Lin Feng, and some people who were on Lin Feng's side, such as Maradeva from the Fortune Shrine, were there. More people from shrines were going to arrive. It was definitely an incredible meeting. Many friends are here already, said Tian Ruojian indifferently. He smiled and said, Weapon Master Bing is going to make a sword, even the supreme animal world wanted to see it. Great! Everybody gazed into the distance when he said that. They saw 2 people. They were wearing dragon robes with dragon patterns on them. The dragons on the patterns were actually spitting out smoke. Their chi was extraordinary and aggressive. People from the Dragon Clan, whispered Weapon Master Kong. Tian Ruojian smiled, Dragon Clan and if I'm not mistaken, Rock Clan. The crowd looked higher up in the sky, there was someone wearing a golden robe, his expression sharp. Everything about that rock was sharp. A king amongst rocks, a great oriental greenfinch rock. They want my fellow disciple to make a sword for them, but he never agreed, said Weapon Master Bing indifferently. Lin Feng was amazed. The great oriental greenfinch rock wanted a sword. Interesting. Weapon Master Bing is here, said Tian Ruojian at that moment, looking off into the distance. There was an white-haired old man there, his hair was messy. He looked like an ordinary old man who didn't take care of himself. It was difficult to imagine that he was Weapon Master Bing, the one who had made Cassiopeia's sword, a terrifying saint's weapon. Chapter 2366, Making a Sword. Tian Ruojian always called Weapon Master Bing, Master. He respected him a lot. Lin Feng knew that old man had lived for a very long time, since he had made Cassiopeia's sword. Most people who were here were juniors for Weapon Master Bing. Weapon Master Bing looked ordinary, but it was the kind of ordinary which left people speechless and captivated. He looked like nature itself. Nobody had any doubts about his strength. He was an expert at making weapons, but he was also an incredible fighter, even though he rarely spent time with cultivators. And even if he wasn't a strong fighter, he could crush almost any high-level saint with his weapons. Weapon Master Bing walked over and stopped in front of the crowd. He looked at them and in particular at Weapon Master Kong. Fellow disciple, said Weapon Master Kong nodding at Weapon Master Bing. Master, said Tian Ruojian respectfully. How's your teacher? Weapon Master Bing asked Tian Ruojian. He's fine. He couldn't come, so he told me to say hello, replied Tian Ruojian. Weapon Master Bing nodded. At a certain cultivation level, when you thought you'd reach the end, you have the impression you're starting all over again. Tian Ruojian was surprised and smiled. My teacher says cultivation never ends, and each day is a fresh new start. Right, he's a cultivation maniac, agreed Weapon Master Bing. He looked around at the crowd and said, in the last few years, a friend brought me some materials, I've been gathering other materials too. Now, I finally have everything I need to make a sword. I'm happy that you all came to watch me make it. We are the ones who are happy, it is an incredible honor to be able to watch you make weapons, said someone. Everybody nodded agreed. They all felt incredibly honored. It was a rare opportunity. If anything happens during the process, if I make any mistake or if I don't do well enough, I hope that everybody will help me, said Weapon Master Bing. The crowd frowned. If he made a mistake or didn't do well enough. His teacher was the best weapon maker in the world, and he was incredibly good at it too, how could he say such a thing? Maybe Weapon Master Bing wants to try and make a weapon he's never made before. He's worried and feels pressured, thought the crowd. Weapon Master Bing is worried, what kind of material could his friend have brought to him? And what kind of sword does he want to make? Maybe he wants to break his record. The crowd was impatient to see what kind of weapon Weapon Master Bing would make. Everybody, please move back, I want to start, said Weapon Master Bing. Everybody stood up and withdrew to a safe distance. Weapon Master Bing was alone in the middle very quickly. Weapon Master Kong said, his chi has become even more incredible, it's the first time I have seen him like that. He has probably been getting prepared for a very long time. Master, does he want to break his record? Asked Tian Ruojian. Weapon Master Kong nodded, yes, and it's probably related to the materials he has. Weapon Master Bing took a step forwards and a terrifying fire appeared, an incredible celestial Tao filling the air. It was very oppressive. A terrifying fireball appeared in the sky and descended rapidly. A crater which was several hundreds of meters wide appeared, celestial fires burning inside. The deep pit became dark, the fire became black, black smoke appeared. Incredible, he makes weapons alone. He's also a great deployment master, without a doubt, whispered Lin Feng. Weapon Master Bing had also cast a mighty deployment spell, he was getting ready. How strong! Father, that guy is terrifying, said Jitian. An incredible oppressive energy kept appearing in the sky. It was breathtaking. Of course, he's famous everywhere in the world, Lin Feng replied. Weapon Master Bing was standing before the fire celestial Tao, composing himself. He had to do everything perfectly to make a perfect weapon. His fire, the materials, and his deployment spell had to be perfect. Nobody was flighty and impetuous in the crowd, they all watched calmly. He prepared the fire for 3 days straight. After that, the atmosphere went completely dark. The crowd looked at the sky, and were astonished to see it was on fire. Weapon Master Bing finally started moving. He took a step forwards and stretched out his hands. In the blink of an eye, terrifying corpses appeared above the deep pit of flames. Those are saints' bodies. The crowd was astonished, so many saints' bodies. The corpses were roaring in a thundering rage, they still contained will. Those corpses are Weapon Master Bing's materials, who gave them to him? The crowd was shaking. Weapon Master Bing created many fire chains above the deep pit, catching the corpses. The bodies roared angrily. Some people's heads started aching. They had the impression they were carrying the whole world on their shoulders, their heads felt heavy. In order to use those bodies to make a sword, he needs to oppress their wills. How difficult. No wonder he's very cautious, thought Weapon Master Kong. He hadn't thought of this. Weapon Master Bing took another step forward and an object appeared in his hand. He threw it into the fire, and the fire went into a frenzy. Weapon Master Bing jumped into the fire, raising a hammer and pounding the object. Clanging sounds echoed in the air. How resistant. The crowd was shaking. He kept hammering the object unceasingly and quickly for 49 days. The crowd finally started seeing the rudiments of a sword. It looked illusionary. A sword embryon. Lin Feng was calmly watching. Weapon Master Bing's way of making weapons was different from the Gold Fire Tower's way. He looked more relaxed, but his movements were all extremely precise. At that moment, he was using his fingers to carve marks on the sword. Notches appeared on the sword. "Go in," shouted Weapon Master Bing, raising his hand. Instantly, the shackles brought the corpses above the sword's embryo, and the corpses fused together with it. The saints' bodies melted completely. He's even making their wills fuse together with the sword. Drops of will fell onto the sword's embryo. The embryo was trembling with every drop. Weapon Master Bing was standing there, his soul left his body and went into the sword's embryo. He used his soul to oppress the wills. His corporeal body was just standing there motionlessly. What an incredible guy. If someone attacked his body with surprise, it would be tragic for him. Weapon Master Bing was in a trance. After melting the bodies and putting them into the sword's embryo, the embryo disappeared in the fire. It shook more and more violently. Weapon Master Bing's soul reappeared. When his soul came out, an endless number of chains surrounded the sword and lifted it up into the air. Did the sword want to leave? "Where are you going?" shouted Weapon Master Bing coldly. Everything suddenly stopped, his body shook, and he grabbed the sword with his fingers. Blood splashed and penetrated into the sword. This time, he used his own blood to carve marks on the sword. At the same time, the chains were still constricting it. "Stop!" shouted Weapon Master Bing. He sealed something in the sword with his blood. Stars appeared in the space around. He made some hand seals with his hands, and they penetrated into the sword. The flames continued refining it. Weapon Master Bing raised his head and took a deep breath, then spat out celestial Tao strength towards the sword, penetrating into it. After a long time, the sword, which had calmed down a little, shook again. It was going insane, but at that moment, terrifying Kulpa lights descended from the sky. The crowd was trembling. How powerful was that celestial Kulpa strength going to be? Chapter 2367, Tian Roa Jian. An explosive pitch-black strength rolled out, and a dark red color appeared, hurting people's eyes. What a powerful Kulpa cloud, it contains an overwhelming strength, thought the crowd, watching the violent windstorm in the sky. They were all wary. If that tornado reached them, their souls could explode. Weapon Master Bing raised his head and looked at the sky, retreating quickly. A dark red Kulpa cloud appeared, seemingly ready to explode. It descended from the sky in a flash and struck the sword violently. The sword hummed. However, the cloud didn't stop moving. It released more destructive strength and continued attacking the sword. 9 times 9, Kulpa, which consumes yang energy, intoned Weapon Master Kong. The terrifying dark red Kulpa strength turned into 81 parts, terrifying deep pits appeared, bright meter-long tips appearing at the top of it. They absorbed and spat out dazzling lights, which contained an intense will. "Medium-level weapon, what is he doing?" whispered Weapon Master Kong, looking astonished. Weapon Master Bing called out to the crowd, "The sword contains all those saints' wills, I can't handle it alone, everybody, help me. Put your strength inside. Let's see if we can control the will." Weapon Master Bing immediately started helping. The crowd was startled, but released a terrifying chi. Celestial Tao rolled out and roared. Now that they had released energies onto that sword, they could sense its movements even better. Lin Feng released God's strength and forced it into the sword. However, when his God's strength penetrated into the sword, it seemed tiny. The will wouldn't submit to his God's strength. No wonder Weapon Master Bing couldn't control it. That sword was supposed to be terrifyingly strong. Weapon Master Bing wanted to make the best sword possible. The Supreme Yupek was made to attack souls, the Kasayapa was supposed to attack using speed strength, making people lose awareness of space and time. Now, he wanted to make a sword which contained all those saints' will, so he tried to make a pure weapon, and not a sword which contained all sorts of strength in a chaotic manner. He wanted to use the will of all those saints in the best way. Lin Feng's God strength was made of millions of sorts of intent. It was good, but the problem was that it was too weak. If Weapon Master Bing used it, he still wouldn't be able to control the sword. At that moment, Weapon Master Bing sensed something. His strength was also in the sword and he was paying attention to all the strengths penetrating into the sword. He noticed that a few terrifying kinds of intent could suppress the intents of others, or even destroy them, but Weapon Master Bing didn't want to see that. He also found out there was a relatively weak intent inside which had been created using myriad sorts of intent, but it was just too weak. Weapon Master Bing put his own strength around that power, and looked for the owner. Lin Feng frowned, someone was chasing him. He recalled his God strength and sensed a strength surround and constrict him. "Who?" said Lin Feng coldly. He turned around and noticed that Weapon Master Bing was looking at him. He was surprised, the one who was chasing him was Weapon Master Bing. Weapon Master Bing nodded at Lin Feng and recalled his strength, putting it back in the sword. He wanted to find someone strong enough. After a short time, he looked disappointed, as nobody was left. Those people could only oppress the strength, but that's not what he wanted. He didn't want to oppress it, he wanted to modify it. He wanted to use that strength and turn it into a terrifying and explosive strength. Unfortunately, these people didn't understand much about that. Only Weapon Master Kong could understand Weapon Master Bing. After all, they were both incredible weapon manufacturers. That's why it's only a medium-level item. He hasn't made the sword take shape, thought Weapon Master Kong. Weapon Master Bing said, "All right, everybody, recall your strength." The people recalled their power. The sword started trembling again, he couldn't control it anymore. The crowd looked at Weapon Master Bing, not knowing what he was thinking. Weapon Master Bing released a terrifying strength which surrounded the sword and constricted it before dragging it towards himself. "Little boy, come here." Weapon Master Bing said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was stunned. Weapon Master Kong looked at Lin Feng and smiled. "Lin Feng, he thinks highly of you, it's a very good sign. It's fate." Lin Feng, "Not bad, Master Bing chose you," said Tian Ruojian, smiling and slapping Lin Feng's shoulder. Indeed, everyone here was much older than Lin Feng. When they became famous, Lin Feng wasn't even born yet. Gu Zhu smiled, his eyes twinkling. It was a sign of destiny. Weapon Master Bing had chosen Lin Feng. "Hurry up and go," said Gu Zhu, smiling at Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and flashed forwards. At that moment, Wu Ming's figure flickered and he moved towards Lin Feng, shouting, "Weapon Master Bing, Lin Feng is someone my shrine wants to kill, leave him." Weapon Master Bing glanced at Wu Ming. He didn't look angry, but said in a cold way, "So what? It has nothing to do with me. Little boy, come here." "All right," said Lin Feng, and he continued moving forwards. Wu Ming said, "Since you insist, don't blame me for attacking." He continued moving towards Lin Feng, who sensed a terrifying celestial Dao surround him. Weapon Master Bing frowned. A deadly sword strength suddenly filled the air. Tian Ruojian was holding a thrumming sword. Insolent. Tian Ruojian's figure flickered and he appeared directly in front of Lin Feng. An invisible and intangible sword moved forwards, space started breaking apart, including the empty space strength moving towards Lin Feng. "Lin Feng must die!" shouted Wu Ming, charging forwards. Empty space strength surrounded Lin Feng. "Destroy," said Wu Ming. Lin Feng had the impression his body was going to be ripped apart. Swords glittered and penetrated into his body. However, they didn't injure him, they just broke the empty space strength around him. At the same time, Tian Ruojian threw himself at Wu Ming, he hadn't even unsheathed a real sword yet. "You want to die?" Sword intent filled the air, and sword lights appeared. Tian Ruojian finally unsheathed his sword. At that moment it was like space and time had stopped. Only a dazzling sword cut towards Wu Ming. Wu Ming released empty space strength, but he was much, much slower than before. He was moving in slow motion. Suddenly, he had the impression time had stopped, seconds lasted forever. Time strength? Lin Feng frowned. He had seen such a sword on the battlefield of Chi Tian Holy Town during the War of the Ancient Days. Piss off, shouted Wu Ming furiously. He released even more empty space strength, clear and musical breaking and snapping notes went off, but Tian Ruojian's sword continued slicing towards his third eye. Wu Ming bit his lips and blood dripped down. A terrifying empty space cage surrounded him, but the sword appeared in front of him, piercing through the empty space strength, like it had been about to teleport, but the teleportation was slowed down, too. The sword finally moved forwards and drove into his chest. At that moment, Wu Ming also moved and disappeared into another empty space. However, he looked down and saw wounds on his body, and blood dripping down. Tian Ruojian is so strong. The crowd was astonished. That sword was incredible. He had nearly killed Wu Ming. You dare act disrespectfully in front of our master. Tian Ruojian said to Wu Ming coldly. Wu Ming pulled a long face. Tian Ruojian was so strong, but he continued calling Weapon Master Bing master. Chapter 2368, Joining hands to finish the sword. Wu Ming pulled a long face. He had never fought against Tian Ruojian before. Tian Ruojian was like the legendary Cassiopeia. His Cassiopeia sword could mess with time and space. One sword sufficed to kill all enemies. Fighting against such people was too terrifying. It wasn't about winning or losing, it was about remaining alive. One small mistake and one could die against Cassiopeia sword attacks, and everything happened too fast. A moment before, if the sword hadn't reached his chest but his third eye, Wu Ming would be dead already. Tian Ruojian, are you sure you want to protect Lin Feng? Wu Ming asked coldly. He was a high-level saint from the empty space shrine. He wanted to kill Lin Feng, and he wasn't the only one. Many of the shrines definitely wanted to kill Lin Feng. They couldn't let him escape, he had to die. As long as the master is here, nobody can attack him, or they'll have to fight against me first, replied Tian Ruojian sharply, firmly holding his sword. Nobody could compete with his sword attacks there, so killing Lin Feng would be extremely difficult. Little boy, come here, ignore them, said Weapon Master Bing to Lin Feng. Tian Ruojian looked at Lin Feng and smiled. It's an opportunity for you, go and focus. Leave the rest to me. All right. Lin Feng nodded. Master, please help me with my son, too. Don't worry, if they dare touch your family members, I'll slaughter them, replied Tian Ruojian. Lin Feng walked over to Weapon Master Bing. Weapon Master Bing looked at Lin Feng and turned around. After a breath or two, an illusion appeared around them, the air became very calm, and only the two of them were there. Weapon Master Bing was firmly holding the sword with chains of fire. He said, a moment ago, everybody put strength in the sword, but your strength is different from other people. You don't just oppress it, you also try to keep it under control and to fuse together with it. Your strength is very special. If I give you an opportunity, can you fully control the will and strength in the sword? Master, my strength is God's strength. I can control things better than other people. However, I'm not strong enough. The will and strength in that sword is terrifyingly powerful. I'm too weak. I can't control it with my own power, said Lin Feng. Weapon Master Bing nodded and said, I know. This strength is much more powerful than most people's strength here. Nobody can control it entirely. After all, the strength of those saints' bodies surprised me, too. I have an idea. There are many kinds of strength and will in that sword. If you could slowly take control, you might be able to divide into several sorts of strength and sort them. We could proceed systematically, make all the sorts of speed-related strengths fuse together to create extremely quick attacks, then make all the soul-related strengths fuse together to create terrifying soul attacks, and so on and so on. Incredible idea. Lin Feng was amazed. This guy was really an expert. He understood all the mechanisms of the process. He wanted to create a sword with multiple types of attacks. Of course, Weapon Master Bing had that idea because the saints' bodies contain different sorts of strengths. He was an extraordinary weapon maker. The sword would be extremely resistant to crafting because the materials were perfect. He had decided to make the sword publicly to see if anyone could help him make his idea come true, and in the end, he had chosen Lin Feng. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was a bit too weak. Weapon Master Bing wanted to break his record, too. I would like to try, said Lin Feng. Weapon Master Bing just nodded. Alright, come and try. Lin Feng slowly rose up into the air in front of the sword. A powerful strength filled the air. He released his god strength and his own world strength, wanting to have it his own way. To control that sword, he needed to make the empty space in that sword become his own world, and then he needed to create his own celestial Tao inside. His strength infiltrated the sword. Weapon Master Bing's eyes twinkled. Suddenly, his strength was expelled from the sword. He wanted to help Lin Feng oppress the strength, but Lin Feng pushed him out. He was satisfied. If Lin Feng did that, it meant he had an idea, and as long as it worked, everything was fine. Weapon Master Bing was more than experienced enough to keep things under control, just in case. Lin Feng created his own world in the sword. Wind intent. That's speed intent there, and there's light intent. Lin Feng sensed the different sorts of intent in the sword. When saints died, there will remained, and will made things seem alive. When I find different threads of intent which belong to the same category or which are similar, I can make them fuse together with God's strength. That's exactly what Weapon Master Bing wants me to do, thought Lin Feng. His God's strength surrounded all the sorts of intent which were related to speed, then he modified them and made them fuse together with God intent. However, Lin Feng sensed something was resisting. The independent sorts of intent didn't just let him proceed. They didn't want to submit. Since you're in my world, you should submit, thought Lin Feng, his intent becoming even more powerful. A massive celestial Tao strength surrounded the independent sorts of intent. He fused them together with God intent. I can do it, he thought. Even though some sorts of intent were resisting, his God celestial Tao helped him force the different sorts of intent to submit. However, a few ones which were too powerful didn't submit. Those different sorts of intent could be compared with cultivators. If he brought cultivators who were much stronger than him into his own world, they could also break free easily. Lin Feng made a few sorts of intent fuse together and then he took his strength out of the sword. He only left intent related to speed with his God strength inside. Master, look, he said to Weapon Master Bing. Weapon Master Bing nodded and put his strength inside the sword. He looked pleasantly surprised and said, as expected, they fuse together. They also contain some of your own intent. Other people can't control it, but that way, when we finish making the sword, it'll have to be yours. It will be perfect for you, but not for other people. Lin Feng smiled. That's all I could do. But even if you didn't want to give me that sword, that's still all I could have done. Don't worry. All I'm concerned about is how powerful the sword is. I don't care about who the owner is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given the Cassiopea's sword and the Supreme Yupek away, said Weapon Master Bing indifferently. If you want it, you can have it. Thank you very much, Master, said Lin Feng. He hadn't expected that, but he knew Weapon Master Bing did it wholeheartedly. He made weapons out of passion, not greed. But there's a problem because your intent is limited, therefore, I can't make a sword which is too powerful. I'll make it so that it adapts to your strength as you become stronger. We can join hands to make it adapt, said Weapon Master Bing to Lin Feng. He looked sharp. After having seen how strong Lin Feng was, he had an idea. As you wish, master. Lin Feng was touched. With Weapon Master Bing's help, they could make a sword which would adapt to his strength. Lin Feng was excited now and couldn't wait to use it someday. Stay here for a time, we'll work on the sword, Weapon Master Bing said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. In the outside world, days passed. The people outside didn't leave, though. A few days wasn't much for them. Their lives could last thousands, tens of thousands and even more years. A few days were like an eye blink. Also, they really wanted to know why Weapon Master Bing had chosen Lin Feng. Did he want to make a sword for Lin Feng? Of course, for the members of the shrines, the most important thing remained to kill Lin Feng. Therefore, the number of people outside didn't decrease. On the contrary, it gradually increased because more and more people from shrines arrived. Chapter 2369, Weapon Master Bing's strength. Time passed. Lin Feng and Weapon Master Bing had already been working on the sword for 3 months. Lin Feng was seated cross-legged. There was a humming sword in suspension in the air above him. Lin Feng kept releasing God's strength into it. He was keeping it under control. Phew, Lin Feng took deep breaths, opened his eyes and smiled. How do you feel? Asked Weapon Master Bing, also opening his eyes. Lin Feng nodded and said to Weapon Master Bing, I feel like I can control some of its strength, but I can only use my own strength to control one sort of fused intent. Not bad already. When you become stronger, you'll manage to control more and more sorts of intent. The sword will become more and more powerful. Besides, you're the person that sword listens to now, Weapon Master Bing said. Lin Feng smiled. This sword was a bit like the Tianji sword. Back then, he had modified the Tianji sword, fusing together with it. Now, he had fused together with this sword and actually, it was similar to the Tianji sword because it contained different sorts of strength, 5 types. Back then, the Tianji sword contained different sorts of abstruse energies. But Lin Feng's God strength wasn't powerful enough yet. He could only control one sort of intent at a time. Of course, there were still many sorts of intent Lin Feng couldn't control inside that sword. He had to become stronger. There were 5 sorts of strength in that sword, and Lin Feng had made them fuse together with his own God strength. Weapon Master Bing had also included some of his power to enhance Lin Feng's understanding, speed strength, heavy strength which made that each attack felt like billions of tons, soul strength to attack people's souls, illusion strength, and absorbing strength. The sword was like 5 swords, like 5 different saints' weapons. It was the result of Lin Feng and Weapon Master Bing's fruitful cooperation. Speed, power, soul, illusion, absorbing. Master, what should we call this sword? He asked Weapon Master Bing. He had just helped, and by a stroke of luck, he had become its master. But the one who had done most of the work was Weapon Master Bing. Supreme Yupek and Cassiopeia have already been taken. Even though this sword is not as powerful as Supreme Yupek and Cassiopeia yet, I hope it'll surpass them. You control God's strength, let's call this sword God's sword, said Weapon Master Bing calmly. Lin Feng nodded and grabbed the sword. God's sword, I hope you'll meet Master Bing's expectations, whispered Lin Feng. The sword contained 5 sorts of strength, and even though it was not as powerful as the great demon halberd of desolation or other saints' weapons yet, it was much more suitable for Lin Feng than the great demon halberd of desolation because it contained his own God strength. He was the only one who could control it perfectly. With your talent and that sword, you'll be fine, said Weapon Master Bing to Lin Feng. Alright, we're done. You can leave. Thank you very much, Master. That sword is fit for a god, I won't tarnish your reputation, said Lin Feng, bowing before Weapon Master Bing. His figure flickered as he left that place. The crowd outside hadn't left though. When they saw Lin Feng come out, they stared at him. Besides, Weapon Master Bing had given Lin Feng a sword. When Lin Feng had gone in, he didn't have a sword. Now, he had come out, and he had a sword. The sword weapon Master Bing had made was now his. That little boy is lucky. Weapon Master Bing gave him a sword, thought some people. The members of the shrines looked at him coldly, especially Wu Ming. That one's eyes were filled with murder, and his energies surged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng was alert, and looked at them coldly. The shrines didn't intend to let him off. They wanted to kill him as soon as possible. Weapon Master Kong, Gu Zhu and Tian Ruo Jian hadn't left either. At that moment, they sensed all those deadly energies move towards Lin Feng. Tian Ruo Jian groaned coldly and said, "Shrines, you're really reckless." "Today, Lin Feng will definitely die," said someone calmly. It was the high-level saint of the fire shrine. He flashed forwards. Lin Feng had the impression he was going to burn alive. "Nobody can touch him here," said Tian Ruo Jian. His figure flickered, but all around him, everybody moved, encircling Lin Feng and releasing qi. They were all terrifying cultivators. This time, they wanted to kill Lin Feng, no matter what. "Insolent," said Weapon Master Kong, coldly glancing at the crowd. The shrines had a very high social position, they considered everybody and everything beneath their notice. They were like gods in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. Weapon Master Kong also had a very high position in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. Usually, they never attacked one another. They wanted to kill Lin Feng because he was a forbidden person. But could they kill him here? Especially since he had received a sword from Weapon Master Bing. "The shrines are too arrogant," said someone at that moment. He was wearing a dragon robe, and sounded furious. The saints were all astonished. What was going on? Why did the Dragon Clan get involved? "If anyone tries to prevent us from doing what we have to do, we'll consider them enemies," returned Wu Ming coldly. Qi drove towards Lin Feng. He really had the impression he was going to die. At that moment, energies appeared in the vault of heaven and came crashing down. A terrifying oppressive strength descended from the sky. It was celestial Tao power, and it was awesome. "Who?" snarled Wu Ming, suddenly raising his head. A terrifying empty space strength rose up in the air, golden lights blotted out the sky. "You're really disrespectful," said a voice. A gigantic figure appeared in the sky. Weapon Master Bing. Wu Ming frowned in astonishment. What an ominous strength. Weapon Master Bing had turned into Celestial Tao. He was Celestial Tao itself. How incredible. "Last time, Tian Ruo didn't kill you, but since you want to die, you will now," said Weapon Master Bing coldly. He crashed down from the sky. Wu Ming released as much empty space strength as he could, but the Celestial Tao surrounded him. He felt petrified, and his body stiffened. He couldn't move anymore. That's empty space strength Celestial Tao. Weapon Master Bing was extremely strong. He was using empty space strength against Wu Ming. Wu Ming struggled, but he felt paralyzed. A Celestial Tao hand descended from the sky, and there was an explosion of energies meeting. The crowd saw Wu Ming's face disappear, turning into empty space lights. Wu Ming. The crowd was astonished and petrified. Was Wu Ming dead? He hadn't withstood a single attack from Weapon Master Bing. Who else wants to act arrogantly here? "I'll kill them now," said Weapon Master Bing coldly. Everybody was frozen. Weapon Master Bing had remained silent the whole time before, nobody knew how powerful he really was. At that moment, the atmosphere was completely silent. Chapter 2370, Stealing the Sword. Lin Feng raised his head. He looked at that figure, and shivered. How strong, how incredible. Wu Ming was as strong as Gu Zhu, who was also extraordinarily strong, but Weapon Master Bing had defeated him in one strike. What a difference. Those two people belonged to two different worlds. Gu Zhu can easily scare the lower-level saints of the Fire Shrine, but Weapon Master Bing can easily kill people who are as strong as Wu Ming and Gu Zhu. He's also a high-level saint, and there's a huge difference between them, thought Lin Feng. He realized that the more he progressed on the path of cultivation, the bigger the difference was between people of the same level. It all depended on people's talent, and their understanding of time and celestial Tao. Saints had returned to the source, they had transcended worldliness. Many people thought that he was just a weapon maker, they hadn't thought that he had such an extraordinary strength too. The air was eerily quiet, their hearts were pounding. They were furious at Weapon Master Bing, but what could they say? He was the godly Weapon Master's disciple, they couldn't offend him. In the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, the godly Weapon Master was too powerful and influential. Why did you get involved? It has nothing to do with you, said someone indifferently. People turned to look, it was a saint of the Fire Shrine. You are not allowed to act recklessly here, it's not your territory, snarled Weapon Master Bing angrily. Since it's that way, we're off, said that person, but at that moment, there was a howl of flames. Zhetian. Lin Feng suddenly turned around and saw a gigantic fire hand shooting towards Zhetian. He couldn't protect himself, and was caught instantly. Qiong Lin, said Lin Feng coldly. It was Qiong Lin, a high-level saint from the Fire Shrine. Since nobody was paying attention to him, he had decided to attack Zhetian. But Zhetian was just a celestial emperor, there was a huge level difference between them. If Qiong Lin wanted, he could kill Zhetian very, very easily. How shameless, shouted Weapon Master Kong, his expression changing drastically. The Fire Shrine has gone too far, shouted Gu Zhu. Don't worry, I won't kill him, said Qiong Lin indifferently. I'm a member of the Fire Shrine, I won't harm a little boy. The problem is Weapon Master Bing is getting involved in our things, and we don't want to be enemies with him. We're taking the little boy to Tianyan City. Lin Feng, if you want to see him, you can come to Tianyan City. Everybody, we're off, said Qiong Lin. The gigantic fire hand grabbed Zhetian, and they left as quickly as possible. Where are you doing? Shouted Weapon Master Bing furiously. She rolled in waves. Fireballs exploded and Qiong Lin disappeared from their field of vision. Weapon Master Bing was startled and spat, deployment talisman. Lin Feng watched Zhetian's figure disappear with a long face. The Fire Shrine was truly shameless. Tianyan City was the capital city of the Fire Shrine. They had their headquarters there. If he went there, he'd definitely never leave. But if he didn't go, they'd keep Zhetian there forever. Goodbye. All the members of the shrines left. In the blink of an eye, everybody was gone. The shrines had already achieved part of their goal. Lin Feng clenched his fists hard enough to make his bones pop. The shrines wanted to kill him, and now they were even lashing out at his family members. The shrines are really great. Lin Feng was furious, his eyes were filled with murder. The shrines were at the top of the continent of the Nine Clouds, and they dared do such things. Lin Feng. Gu Zhu said to Lin Feng, don't worry. The Fire Shrine wants you. They won't kill Zhetian. They just want to use him to threaten you. I know, replied Lin Feng coldly. The Fire Shrine had gone too far, though. They've gone too far. From now on, if I meet people from those shrines, I'll kill them instantly, said Lin Feng. His eyes were filled with murder. Gu Zhu was surprised, convinced Lin Feng would do just that. He was furious. The Fire Shrine has gone too far, indeed. We can't leave the matter at that, said Tian Ruojian coldly. His eyes looked as sharp as swords. He was a sword cultivator, he had learned from the old Cassiopeia. He was fearless, and had been merciless against Wu Ming, nearly killing him. He didn't care. At such a cultivation level, he didn't care about much anymore. But now, the shrines had gone too far. Tianyan City is the capital city of the Fire Shrine. If I go there, they'll kill us. Even though Lin Feng was furious, he tried to keep calm. Tianyan City was the Fire Shrine's capital city. It was like Fortune City for the Fortune Shrine. The only solution there to save Zhetian would be to sacrifice himself. They won't release him unless I die, muttered Lin Feng to himself. Indeed, the situation is very annoying. They have the advantage now, said Tian Ruojian, frowning. The Fortune Shrine won't just stand there and watch, said the diviner at that moment. He gazed into the distance. He looked calm and composed, but on the inside, he was furious. The Fire Shrine had gone too far. The Fire Shrine has been chasing our disciple for a long time. That's already way beyond what one can conceive. Lin Feng, I'll go to the Fortune Shrine, wait for my message, said the diviner to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded, thank you for your help. We're off, said the diviner. It wasn't about Lin Feng anymore, it was between the shrines now. So many years have passed and the situation was peaceful. The outside world was tranquil and calm. There was a balance of power. The shrines forgot about the past. It's time for a good war. The imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds is going to be shaken again, said Weapon Master Bing, sighing. The imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds had been too peaceful for too long. Let's go back to the World Clan, said Gu Zhu to Lin Feng. I'll come with you, said Tian Ruojian. Gu Zhu nodded happily. Great, perfect. Tell me if you have news, said Weapon Master Kong. Lin Feng looked at those people and felt moved. Go. Suddenly, Lin Feng and the others rose up into the air. They had to go back to the World Clan to discuss things. The situation was critical, their enemies were shrines. They started flying away, but Gu Zhu and Tian Ruojian glanced at one another and stopped. Someone is hiding. Come out. A strong wind started blowing. Dazzling golden lights flashed. A figure in golden clothes appeared, staring at Lin Feng coldly. Supreme Animal World, Rock Clan, Zhonggan, said Tian Ruojian, looking at that person coldly. He looked as sharp as a sword, like he was trying to lacerate that person with his eyes. I want that sword, said Zhonggan. He was staring at Lin Feng's sword. Lin Feng was stunned. The members of the Rock Clan from the Supreme Animal World had always hoped Weapon Master Bing would make a sword for them, but he had never accepted. They hadn't forgotten about it, and now they wanted to steal Lin Feng's sword. It's not suitable for you, said Lin Feng. You don't know that. Give me the sword, said Zhonggan firmly. He was determined to steal the sword. Zhonggan, don't be too reckless. Weapon Master Bing made that sword for Lin Feng. Why would he give it to you, said Tian Ruojian coldly. So what? Weapon Master Bing doesn't know how to recognize friends. He didn't want to cooperate with us. All I can do is steal that sword, said Zhonggan coldly. He was a beast, and beasts were aggressive and straightforward, especially Zhonggan. He was a great oriental greenfinch rock, a king among rocks. Shut up, said Tian Ruojian coldly. Sword intent filled the air. At the same time, there was a shrill cry and golden lights flashed as Zhonggan turned into a great oriental greenfinch rock, and then into 3. Rock Clan's cloning technique. Tian Ruojian was grim. Zhonggan would be a terrifying opponent. Chapter 2371, Blood. Great Imperial City. The Rock Clan were speed experts, especially great oriental greenfinch rocks, who were the kings of the species. They had no competitor in terms of speed. Zhonggan had imperial rock blood and he was a great oriental greenfinch rock, so he was incredible in terms of speed. On top of that, he had a special technique which only the Rock Clan had, a rock cloning technique. When using it, his chi didn't change at all, so it was impossible to recognize which one was his real body. Of course, the clone's attacks weren't as powerful as his real ones, or it would have been even more terrifying. Now there were 3 rocks, which one was the real one? It was difficult to come up with a plan knowing how fast they were. Tian Ruojian and Gu Zhu remained vigilant. Tian Ruojian, who was already holding his sword, said, "Lin Feng, you stay behind. You have to be very careful. Zhonggan is extremely fast. When he reaches a certain speed, he can break free from the laws of space and time using the celestial space and time breaking rock technique." Gu Zhu also took out his world scroll. Saints' energies emerged from their saints' weapons. Gu Zhu and Tian Ruojian were extremely strong, but there were 3 Zonggans facing them, they had to be extremely careful. "Give me the sword," said Zonggan's 3 bodies at the same time. All his eyes looked extremely sharp. "Huh, you little filthy bird, you shamelessly try to steal other people's weapons," said a voice in the distance. Zonggan was stupefied. Little filthy bird. He was a great oriental greenfinch rock, who dared talk to him that way. He gazed into the distance and saw someone wearing a dragon robe arrive. He wore an incredible helmet, he looked dignified and majestic, imposing and awe-inspiring. "Ao Tsang Hai," shrilled Zonggan's 3 bodies at the same time. "Longhorn snake, mind your own business, will you?" "What if I don't, little filthy bird," said Ao Tsang Hai. He was from the dragon clan in the supreme animal world. Ao Tsang Hai took a step forwards and looked at Lin Feng. "So you're Daimon, and initially you were Lin Feng. No wonder that Aoma follows you everywhere. Initially, people said Aoma was your slave. I wanted to teach you a good lesson, I didn't know it was you." Lin Feng was surprised. Ao Tsang Hai had initially come to teach Lin Feng a good lesson and take Aoma back. But now he knew Daimon was Lin Feng, and Lin Feng, back in the days, had asked Aoshu to bring Aoma to the dragon clan. "This little filthy bird is not strong enough, but he's really quick. If he does anything fishy, we're 3, so we can destroy his 3 bodies," Ao Tsang Hai said to Tian Ruojian and Gu Zhu. Even though he was talking about the great oriental greenfinch rock in a denigrating way, he knew perfectly well that Zonggan was extremely fast and strong. If Zonggan managed to find a way to reach Lin Feng, he'd be able to crush him. Ao Tsang Hai, swore Zonggan coldly. Now that Ao Tsang Hai was there, he had no chance anymore, even with his clones. "Be careful, last descendant of the Dragon King," called Zonggan. Then, his 3 bodies collapsed into 2, and then into 1, before he shot up into the sky and disappeared. How fast! Lin Feng was amazed. That was pure speed. With such a speed, he could attack enemies really quickly. It wasn't easy to fight against people like that. Last descendant of the Dragon King? Lin Feng was surprised. Was Ao Tsang Hai the last descendant of a Dragon King? He did have an imperial helmet. "I wouldn't have thought the Dragon Prince would help," Gu Zhu said to Ao Tsang Hai. As Lin Feng had guessed, Ao Tsang Hai was a Dragon Prince. It's a slight effort. Dragons of darkness are rare, and Lin Feng brought one back to the Dragon Clan. "We are very grateful," said Ao Tsang Hai. He looked at Lin Feng. "You helped me once, I'll help you now. Is the young man the fire shrine kidnapped your son?" "Indeed, he is my son." Lin Feng confirmed. "It'll be difficult to get him back from Tianyan City, even for the fortune shrine, unless they start a real war." "You need another plan," said Ao Tsang Hai. "What plan?" asked Lin Feng. "A tooth for a tooth. He captured your kid, you must do the same to one of his family members, someone the fire shrine cares about a lot." "Any idea who?" asked Lin Feng to Ao Tsang Hai. "I know that he attaches great importance to someone called Xiongyu, who has a very special position in the fire shrine. If you capture him, he won't kill your son." Xiong Yu, I've never heard of him, whispered Tian Ruojian. It's because you don't know much about shrines. I'm from the Dragon Clan. We know a lot about the shrines of the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds, Ao Tsanghai smiled. What is his cultivation level, and where is he? Asked Gu Zhu to Ao Tsanghai. Dozens of years ago, he became a saint. He's much stronger now. Considering his talent, I'd say he must be a low-level saint now. His fighting abilities must be terrifying. I've heard that he was about to go to one of the 7 forbidden territories, the Godly Grave. If you hurry, you can still catch up with him, replied Ao Tsanghai. Gu Zhu and Tian Ruojian were startled. Xiong Yu wanted to go a forbidden territory, they had to act fast. Xiong Yu wants to go to the Godly Grave. Lin Feng's eyes gleamed. Ao Tsanghai continued, we could do it like this, I take Lin Feng with me, we look for Xiong Yu, but I can't help, because the relationship between the shrines and the Dragon Clan would deteriorate and that would make things worse. You can send someone else with us. Of course, you can also go to Tianyan City. We can act on all sides. Lin Feng understood him. The relations between some clans of the Supreme Animal World and the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds were complex. Xiong Yu was a very important member of the Fire Shrine and Ao Tsanghai was a prince. If he did anything to Xiong Yu, then a war would start between the Fire Shrine and the Dragon Clan. Also, Lin Feng, you must think carefully, if you do anything to Xiong Yu, it will be a point of no return, warned Ao Tsanghai. Point of no return. Lin Feng's eyes shone. The Fire Shrine had been trying to kill him for a while because he had a forbidden body. They had tried all they could to kill him, as if he didn't matter, but now they had kidnapped Shitian. He just wanted to slaughter them all. The shrines wanted to kill him, so he wouldn't hesitate and kill all the members of those shrines who wanted to kill him. He wanted to do that until he died, or until he stood upon their ruins. Since Xiong Yu is so important to the shrines, there might some extremely strong cultivators on his side, so I'll stay with you and Lin Feng. Gu Zhu, go back to the World Clan, and talk to the Fortune Shrine. See what you can do together, said Tian Ruojian. They had to do things carefully, failure was no option this time. Alright, Gu Zhu agreed. He looked grave and solemn now. This time, their opponent was a shrine. Since it's that way, let's separate now. Tian Ruojian, Lin Feng and I, we're going to the Godly Grave, said Ao Tsanghai. They all departed hastily. The Godly Grave was one of the 7 famous forbidden territories. However, the Godly Grave was the most visited forbidden territory. It was said that that place was truly the grave of a god. It was in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds, and apparently similar to the Pit of Hell. The entrance to the Godly Grave was in Blood Great Imperial City, situated in a blood-red demon ocean. The city was chaotic, but it was the only entrance. Lin Feng and the others arrived in the sky above the blood-red demon ocean. The water surged and seemed to roar with anger as they struck the shore. Lin Feng and the others shivered. There were all sorts of places in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds. Where did this blood ocean come from? According to legends, it was made of the blood of billions of powerful cultivators, but most people didn't believe in that story. Most people believed in another story, that it was the condensed blood of some spiritual beings. Why is there lightning? Asked Lin Feng. There was blood-red lightning flashing in the vault of heaven. It made the blood roar even more fiercely. It was a terrifying place. I don't know. It's a strange world. There are many mysteries, murmured Tian Ruojian. No matter how strong people were, there were always things they didn't know, or maybe the strongest cultivators in the world were omniscient. We're here, said Ao Tsanghai. He gazed into the distance. Above the blood ocean was a vast and boundless city. It looked spectacular. Blood Great Imperial City. I hope we'll find Xiong Yu, and the fire shrine will release my son, thought Lin Feng. His eyes glittered as the three of them moved forwards. Chapter 2372, Dragon Clan's King Clan. Lin Feng and the others swiftly drew closer to Blood Great Imperial City. From time to time, the three of them saw some strong cultivators come out of that blood-red city. Their chi was terrifying, but saints were discreet. Blood Great Imperial City is a chaotic city. People who come here usually want to go to the godly grave, which means they are extremely strong. There are traces of ancient saints everywhere in this city. There are saints' traces almost everywhere in the world, but especially in places like this, because people who go to forbidden territories are mostly saints, said Ao Tsanghai. Extremely strong cultivators of the supreme animal world regularly come here to go to the godly grave. Are there spiritual beings in the godly grave? Asked Lin Feng. He was curious. Ao Tsanghai was a prince of the Dragon Clan, he knew many things most people didn't. I went inside the godly grave a few thousand years ago. You will see some godly figures. However, I'm not sure about real spiritual beings, Ao Tsanghai smiled. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Godly figures? He would see some godly figures. The forbidden territories are extremely dangerous. That's why they're called forbidden territories. The death rates inside are extremely high. You've already been inside, how dangerous was it? The godly grave is different from other forbidden territories. It is the most visited forbidden territory. It is similar to the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Most people who go to the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell don't come out alive, they either die or turn into Demon King's puppets. Ganji's time is very mysterious. It's misty, strange, and spiritual. The biggest danger in there comes from the other cultivators who go inside, they are terrifyingly strong. In the godly grave, there are God's traces, and many battlefields, they try to pull you in. But there are also opportunities in there. Last time I went there, I wasn't lucky, and I nearly died, Ao Tsanghai related calmly. Lin Feng could imagine. Ao Tsanghai was extremely strong, and yet had nearly died in there. So great emperors can't go in, right? Asked Lin Feng. Ao Tsanghai smiled, not necessarily. I've heard about a weak fellow who found some god's historical remains. 100 years later, he came out and had become terrifyingly strong. Such things happen. Lin Feng was startled, but he laughed and shook his head. Nothing was impossible in the world. If there were really spiritual beings' historical remains, it could change some people's destinies. Alright, let's go in. I hope we'll find Xiongyu in time, said Ao Tsanghai neutrally. He continued moving. They entered Blood Great Imperial City, and made their way through the city. The blood chi there was extremely thick and rich. From time to time, some people looked at them, but they could see that it was better not to offend such people, so nobody dared. As expected, it's a chaotic city, thought Lin Feng, glancing around. People were fighting everywhere. He was speechless. Many people were there just to steal from other people. Of course. Only strength matters in Blood Great Imperial City, replied someone. Then, some people appeared in front of Lin Feng. The leader of the group was extremely strong. Surprisingly, he was a saint. His eyes were filled with blood lights. He stared at Lin Feng and his allies. Not bad. You've returned to your true selves. You have already transcended worldliness and attained holiness. Good, we actually needed some people to go to the godly grave. Come with us. Kidnappers? Lin Feng was astonished. Those people weren't stealing treasures, they kidnapped people. Which group are you from? Are you even qualified to talk to us that way? Asked Ao Tsanghai. Oh, use people, trust me, the Blood Base Alliance is really strong, replied that person. Ao Tsanghai's eyes glittered. Oh, you. I see. He surprisingly came here to become a king and built the blood-base alliance. Alright, we'll come with you. OU is an extraordinarily famous high-level saint. He disappeared 1,000 years ago, people in the outside world don't know much about him. I never thought he'd form a group in Blood Great Imperial City. It's probably because he wants to solve the mysteries of the godly grave, he wants to become stronger and eventually break through, Tian Ruo Jian told Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised again. OU was another monstrously strong cultivator. The leader of the group was startled that Lin Feng and the others talked about OU in such a flattering way. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, we won't disappoint you." They moved off. Lin Feng and the others followed. After a short time, they arrived in front of a blood-red palace. It was gigantic, with a flight of stairs with 99 steps in front of them. There were 2 lofty blood dragons there, looking powerful and mighty. "We're here. Come." The group of people landed on the ground. They turned around and said to Lin Feng and the others, "Let's go. Come on." However, they found out that Lin Feng and the 2 others didn't move. They just stood there calmly. "Have OU come out," said Ao Songhai indifferently. The leader frowned and said, "Your Excellency, it's the blood-base alliance here. You didn't come because you wanted to, right? You came for another reason." "You're right," said Tian Ruo Jian indifferently. He was completely composed. The saint suddenly released his qi. "Who are you?" asked the saint. He realized that these people were different. "Have him come out and you'll know." Ao Songhai laughed. The saint frowned and said coldly, "We'll first see how strong you are, then." He rose up into the air, blood-red clouds appeared in the sky and thundered loudly. They turned into a blood-red spear. "I'll give it a try," said Lin Feng indifferently. Then, he jumped forwards and disappeared. Then, he reappeared in front of his enemy. He was extremely fast. "Die!" shouted that guy explosively. The blood-red spear streaked across the sky towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng stretched out his hands and terrifying hand imprints grabbed the spear. The saint's face paled. Lin Feng was the youngest of these 3 people, looked totally unflustered, but he was already dangerous. So, the 2 others were probably even more terrifying. "You can't compete with us. Have OU come out," said Lin Feng dismissively. The other's face stiffened. He looked at Lin Feng's hands imprints holding the blood spear speechlessly. He released more qi, which filled the air. A few saints appeared. Lin Feng was surprised, the blood-base alliance wasn't a clan, it was an alliance, and impressively they could compete with a clan. "Who wants to see me?" demanded someone at that moment. The voice came from the vault of heaven. Lin Feng and the others raised their heads and saw a figure appear above them. "You're OU?" asked Ao Songhai, standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. "Who are you?" asked OU. When he saw Ao Songhai's clothes and helmet, he frowned. He had never seen those clothes, but they looked like the clothes the members of the Dragon Clan wore. "It doesn't matter. I need you to do something," said Ao Songhai calmly. The reason why he had decided to come was to ask the Blood-Base Alliance for help finding Qiongyu. It would be much easier that way. "How audacious," said OU coldly. He released a terrifying King Qi. Moons appeared in the sky and shone down on Ao Songhai. "Insolent," said Ao Songhai, looking at the moons. He flew up and roared out, striking a moon with his hands, his dragon chant spreading out. There was a thunderous boom as the moon exploded. "Dragon Clan?" OU frowned and said coldly, "You're from the King Clan of the Dragon Clan?" "Humph." Ao Songhai grunted coldly in response. Golden dragons appeared, all with 5 claws. They started ripping apart all the moons, which exploded one after another. OU pulled a long face. As expected, King Clan from the Dragon Clan, golden dragons with 5 claws. His attacks were extremely powerful. Chapter 2373, Celestial Assassins Alliance. Which prince are you? Asked Ou after he saw his moons get destroyed, staring at Ao Songhai. Let's finish the battle and we'll talk, said Ao Songhai coldly. He continued rising up in the air. Even though he wasn't as fast as a great oriental greenfinch roc, the 5-clawed golden dragon were also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, his hand appeared in front of Ou. Dragons were experts in terms of strength, especially 5-clawed golden dragons from the king clan of the Dragon Clan. That attack seemed like it could destroy the earth and sky. The atmosphere distorted around it. Ou's figure exploded. However, Ao Songhai's expression didn't change. He saw a moon appear and then Ou appeared inside. A moment before, it was only a shadow. Moon shadow. Ao Songhai was impressed. Moons reappeared, shining brightly. Ao Songhai smiled coldly. He opened his mouth and roared, his dragons roared furiously and made the earth and sky tremble. Go, said Tian Ruojian, taking Lin Feng backwards. A 5-clawed golden dragon appeared behind Ao Songhai. At the same time, in the sky, more 5-clawed golden dragons appeared and roared out. They tore apart all the moons on their path. He was forcing Ou to show himself. Die. Ou borrowed the strength of the sky to release more moons. The sky cracked. Lin Feng was amazed as he watched the fight. It felt like the sky was about to collapse. Ao Songhai shouted furiously. He rose up and raised his fist. Time seemed to stop. The moon lights and the fist collided. The lights were scattered explosively. However, blood appeared on Ao Songhai's fist. The moon attacks were powerful. Where are you going? Said Ao Songhai, rising higher up in the air. He raised his fist again. The space was trembling. Lin Feng was shaking, too. This fight was just astonishing. Ou's figure appeared. He coughed up blood, his face pale. However, he still looked at Ao Songhai coldly. I'm the 4th prince of the Dragon Clan, Ao Songhai. No need to fight against me. I can easily destroy the Blood Base Alliance. Also, Tian Ruojian is behind me, you've probably heard of him, said Ao Songhai. Ou was astonished. The 4th prince of the Dragon Clan and Cassiopei's disciple, Tian Ruojian. What do you want? Ou asked Ao Songhai. Let's go in to talk, said Ao Songhai. He walked forwards. Tian Ruojian and Lin Feng followed him, and entered the Blood Base Alliance as if they owned it. In the main hall, Ao Songhai sat down on the leader's throne and said to Ou, have you heard of Qiongyu? No, said Ou, shaking his head. Ao Songhai was not surprised. He's a very core disciple of the Fire Shrine. He's discreet. If you don't know about him, you can use your network to learn about him. He's here with some other strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine, so it shouldn't be difficult to learn about him. Just try and find members of the Fire Shrine. It should be easy. Even though the members of the Fire Shrine were discreet, they didn't hide either, as it wasn't necessary. If someone wanted to find them, it would not be difficult. Alright, and then you'll leave? Ou asked Ao Songhai. He looked angry. Even though he wasn't as strong as Ao Songhai, he was a saint too, and he didn't want to be submissive in front of other people. Just do what I told you. Don't worry. We're not interested in the Blood Base Alliance. Alright, wait for my message, said Ou. He turned around and left Ao Songhai, Tian Ruojian, and Lin Feng alone in the main hall. If Qiongyu is in the city, Ou will definitely find him. If there are extremely strong cultivators with Qiongyu, then things will be troublesome, said Ao Songhai. After all, he couldn't get involved. He was a member of the Dragon Clan. The cultivators with Qiongyu were probably extremely strong. It would definitely be very difficult for Lin Feng and Tian Ruojian to capture Qiongyu. All we can do is wait, murmured Lin Feng. The Blood Base Alliance didn't disappoint them. 2 days later, OU found them. So, any news? Asked Ao Songhai to OU. Yes, you're looking for Qiongyu, a low-level saint, right? Indeed, where is he? Smiled Ao Songhai. Qiongyu was probably still in Blood Great Imperial City. Why are you looking for him? Asked OU. It's none of your business, replied Ao Songhai. I just want to warn you, if you want to cause trouble or even kill him, you have to know that Qiongyu and a group of people from the Fire Shrine are in the Celestial Assassins Alliance right now. You must have heard of the Celestial Assassins Alliance. Even if the members of the Fire Shrine and Qiongyu were alone, you wouldn't be able to harm them. Celestial Assassins Alliance. Ao Songhai was displeased. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, the Celestial Assassins Alliance is an influential group which has existed for a very long time in Blood Great Imperial City. They're quite strong, in the top 3 groups of the city. The group was formed after people from many places who wanted to go to the godly grave gathered. When Lin Feng heard that, he frowned. Celestial Assassins Alliance. Qiongyu was in the Celestial Assassins Alliance. And he was with terrifying cultivators. So, I have to go to the Celestial Assassins Alliance, thought Lin Feng. Zhetian was in the Fire Shrine, even though some people were trying to solve the situation there, getting Zhetian back from Tianyan City was impossible. Lin Feng had only 2 solutions, capturing Qiongyu, or handing himself over. He couldn't go to the Celestial Assassins Alliance as Lin Feng, but he could use another identity. I have my own world, I can easily imprison Qiongyu. The difficult part is to kidnap him and then escape safely, thought Lin Feng. Then, he looked at Ao Songhai and Tian Ruojian, Masters, I intend to change my identity and go to the Celestial Assassins Alliance to see whether I can kidnap Qiongyu or not. It's too dangerous, and difficult. And Qionyu's fighting abilities are terrifying. You can't do it alone, replied Ao Songhai telepathically. Lin Feng was brave, but it was a big risk. Indeed. You can't take that risk, said Tian Ruojian. Oh, you guessed that these 3 people were talking telepathically, so he just stood there calmly. Lin Feng looked at Ao Songhai and Tian Ruojian, he said telepathically, I have to try. There is no other option. Ao Songhai and Tian Ruojian glanced at one another. Since you want to do that, we won't stop you. I'll stay in the Blood Base Alliance. If you need anything or if they kidnap you, get in touch with me and I will do my best to save you, said Ao Songhai, but you must be extremely careful, no matter what, they must not learn who you are. I'll be outside of the Celestial Assassins Alliance waiting for you, said Tian Ruojian. They both accepted Lin Feng's decision. Even though it was very dangerous, they also thought that it was what any strong cultivator would have done. Alright, good, said Lin Feng. He looked at OU and said, please give me a map of the Blood Great Imperial City and the Celestial Assassins Alliance. Alright, OU nodded. He transmitted maps to Lin Feng using his godly awareness. Thank you, said Lin Feng, standing up. Tian Ruojian followed him and they left the main hall. Ao Songhai stayed there and said to OU, I want to stay here for a few days, I hope you don't mind. Lin Feng and Tian Ruojian separated on the way. Lin Feng changed his face. He still looked young but sick, his face was very pale. His hair was hanging to one side like horsehair. He arrived outside of the Celestial Assassins Alliance quickly. The Celestial Assassins Alliance was one of the most powerful groups of the city. Their buildings were much more spectacular than the Blood Base Alliance's buildings. A gigantic horizontal structure appeared in Lin Feng's field of vision. Behind Lin Feng was a gate on which was written Celestial Assassins Alliance. Lin Feng had already crossed the main gate of the Celestial Assassins Alliance. "What do you want here?" asked one of the guards coldly. They were all cultivators of the Di-Chi layer. Lin Feng released absolutely no Qi, and it was impossible to know what his cultivation level was. "I want to join the Celestial Assassins Alliance," said Lin Feng. "If you can cross the 9 Celestial Assassins gates, you'll be able to join the Celestial Assassins Alliance," said his questioner. Lin Feng glanced at him and walked forwards. A powerful Qi surrounded him. However, Lin Feng waved his hands and those people ended up in an illusion. They were all astonished to suddenly find there was nothing around them. What a powerful illusion. "He just waved his hands to create such a terrifying illusion," said one of them, pulling a long face. By the time the illusion disappeared, they turned around and Lin Feng had already crossed 5 Celestial Assassins gates. Chapter 2374, closely following the guards of the different gates grew more powerful. However, Lin Feng easily crossed 6 gates. When he arrived at the 7th one, the guards were already half-saints. The guards were 2 old men, their eyes bloodshot. They glanced at Lin Feng coldly. They flew up and waved their hands. Instantly, terrifying blood-red hands shot towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's eyes became 2 black holes. He looked terrifying. "Come in," said Lin Feng. Suddenly, the 2 guards couldn't see anything anymore, but darkness filled with death strength surrounded them. What a powerful attack! The 2 old men pulled long faces. This challenger's illusions were extremely powerful. They attacked the illusion together, and it exploded. But when they came back to their senses, they realized that Lin Feng had already crossed the 8th gate. How strong! The 2 old men looked at Lin Feng and took a deep breath. Another strong cultivator is going to join the alliance. "I hope they'll be lucky in the godly grave this time, I hope they'll find some historical remains," said the other one. Lin Feng was already fighting against the guard of the 9th gate. There was only one, but he was extremely strong. He was also a half-saint, but his fighting abilities were impressive. His attacks were incredible. However, it wasn't enough to deal with Lin Feng, and he quickly lost. Lin Feng could easily pass that challenge as well. Not bad. Another saint is joining our organization. "What's your name?" asked the guard, smiling at Lin Feng. "Mu Feng," said Lin Feng. "Brother Mu Feng. You're very strong. You probably want to go to the godly grave as well, that's why you came to the Celestial Assassins Alliance, right?" asked the guard with a smile. The Celestial Assassins Alliance existed because of the godly grave. Indeed. "How many strong cultivators are there this time?" asked Lin Feng. "The godly grave is like the other forbidden territories. It's easy to go in, but it's difficult to come back out alive. Therefore, it's better to be prepared. This time, the Celestial Assassins Alliance has started preparing an impressive army. You won't be disappointed, the Celestial Assassins Alliance prepared great materials and has gathered some great cultivators." "Can you recommend me?" asked Lin Feng. "No rush. We'll get you a place to rest first. Then, I'll recommend you and you'll get to know them," said the man. His figure flickered and Lin Feng followed him. He showed Lin Feng to a place where he could rest and told Lin Feng some more details, then left. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged in a courtyard. He released threads of godly awareness, which flew up and turned into a vast network, and Lin Feng could see almost everything in the Celestial Assassins Alliance. Many people raised their heads and smiled coldly. Observing a whole town with one's godly awareness wasn't polite. In the Celestial Assassins Alliance, many threads of godly awareness also flew up and looked back at Lin Feng. But Lin Feng didn't mind. Very quickly, he noticed a courtyard. There was a group of people there seated cross-legged calmly. Their chi was terrifying. They were wearing fire robes. They were probably members of the fire shrine. Who dares act so audaciously, whispered someone raising their head. Piss off, said someone coldly. That terrifying voice shook everybody in the city. Lin Feng opened his eyes and recalled his godly awareness. His eyes were sharp. Those people were definitely members of the fire shrine, so Qiongyu had to be in the group. Lin Feng had noticed a young man in the group, looking quite composed. He might be Qiongyu. Where the members of the fire shrine were staying, someone asked, who was that? I don't know. A sick-looking young man. His cultivation is mysterious. I've never seen him. He must have just joined the Celestial Assassins Alliance, replied someone. That guy is audacious, daring to look at people with his godly awareness. Some people also laughed, they didn't mind. Lin Feng didn't move. Even if Qiongyu was there, he was surrounded by terrifyingly strong cultivators, it was impossible to capture him here. He had to wait for an opportunity. During the following days, Lin Feng inspected the city with his godly awareness every day as if he were sun-gazing. Some people were annoyed, but didn't say anything because he didn't go and inspect secret areas, and he didn't disturb people who were meditating, either. Some people were annoyed, however. Why did he do that? Was he practicing cultivation? Time passed slowly. In Tianyan City, the atmosphere was lively too. Many strong cultivators were there, including strong cultivators from the Fortune Shrine and the World Clan. Of course, Lin Feng's clone was there too. Two of Lin Feng's clones were constantly in the Fortune Shrine. One of them stayed in the Fortune Shrine and did the things he did all the time, read books, spend time with Meng Qing, practice cultivation. But now that Chitian had been captured by the Fire Shrine, how could Meng Qing be happy? She was extremely worried every day. Lin Feng's clone had gone to Tianyan City. As long as he didn't use his full strength, nobody would notice it was just a clone. There was action on all sides. In a palace of Tianyan City, the diviner and Lin Feng were together. The diviner asked, how are things there? I'm still in the Celestial Assassins Alliance. The date of the journey to the godly grave hasn't been planned yet. All right. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. If they want to go to the godly grave, find a way to prevent them from going, said the diviner. Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng knew that the diviner who was with him was actually a clone too. Lin Feng's real body was in the Celestial Assassins Alliance, and his clone was in Tianyan City. The diviner's clone was in Tianyan City too, and he was going to the Celestial Assassins Alliance with his real body. Lin Feng didn't know what the diviner was doing the whole time with his real body, but now he was going to see Maradeva's real body. What do we do here? Asked Lin Feng. He had inspected the Celestial Assassins Alliance with his godly awareness. He was worried that Qiongyu would go to the godly grave and he would have no opportunity to catch him. Now that the diviner was going to help him there, it was much better that way. I informed the Fire Shrine. They agreed to meet tomorrow. At that moment, I'll be in Blood Great Imperial City already, said the diviner indifferently. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. One more day. The very next day, early in the morning, Lin Feng was awake as someone called him, Brother Mu Feng, come out. When Lin Feng heard that, he went out. It was the guard of the 9th gate. He smiled, Brother Mu Feng, let's go. We have a meeting. We'll get to know each other, and then we'll go to the godly grave. Today. Lin Feng was stupefied. How tense. The diviner needed half a day more to arrive. He was rushing over to Blood Great Imperial City. Indeed. Let's go, that person smiled. He led the way as Lin Feng followed him. Even if he didn't want to go to the godly grave, he needed to prevent the others from going. After a short time, they arrived on a public field. There were dozens of people present. They were all extremely strong. When they saw Lin Feng, people were surprised. Someone laughed and said, "That's the guy who kept inspecting the city using his godly awareness. I wonder why he did that." "Sorry, I just joined the Celestial Assassins Alliance, I'm not familiar with the rules," said Lin Feng, smiling mirthlessly. He glanced at the crowd and saw the members of the Fire Shrine. In the middle of their group was a young man, probably Qiongyu. Lin Feng was now sure that it was him. Lin Feng didn't say anything, he just clenched his fists. Everybody was there, so he couldn't kidnap Qiongyu. He hoped the diviner would arrive quickly, then Tian Ruo Jian would be able to help them, too. Chapter 2375, Arriving on time. The morning sun shone upon Tianyan City. It was very hot there. There was a gigantic palace, and in the sunlight, it looked like it was on fire. It was the Fire Shrine's palace. Many people gathered on a public field. On one side, everybody was wearing a fire robe. They all had an extraordinary qi and were extremely strong. In the middle of them, there was one cultivator much weaker than everybody else. It was Zhetian. "Father," shouted Zhetian when he saw Lin Feng. He didn't look good. He said to Lin Feng, telepathically, "Father, I'm alright, don't worry about me. They're well prepared, you can't do anything." Lin Feng said nothing. He glanced at the members of the Fire Shrine and finally looked at Qiong Lin. "You're a shrine and you stand at the very top of the continent of the 9 clouds. You dare take a young man as a hostage. How shameless. No need to tell me that. I told you, we're not going to harm him. Come here and we'll release him," said Qiong Lin indifferently. He looked quite composed. It's not the first time the Fire Shrine has done something like this. "If you don't release him, the Fortune Shrine will lose patience," said the diviner plainly. "Lose patience? So, what will you do then?" said Qiong Lin, smiling coldly. The diviner closed his eyes and didn't say anything. The atmosphere became eerily silent. Nobody said anything, both sides waited. In the Celestial Assassins Alliance, everybody was getting familiar with each other. When the Fire Shrine's members introduced themselves, the crowd paid more attention. This time, some members of the Fire Shrine are with us. Therefore, we'll choose the fire entry. We'll see if we're lucky and bump into some spiritual beings, said someone at that moment sternly. The 9 spiritual beings' graves are real battlefields. We have to help each other inside, and we should separate. All right, the crowd nodded. Everybody understands. Good, let's go, said the cultivator of the Celestial Assassins Alliance. They were ready to go to the godly grave. Wait, said Lin Feng suddenly. Everybody looked at him. Yes, what? Asked the cultivator. I have a friend who wants to come. He's extremely strong. We should wait, said Lin Feng. The strong cultivator's eyes twinkled. How strong? A high-level saint, he's at the very top of that level. His fighting abilities are incredible. He's not really a friend, he's more like an elder I have affection for, a mentor. He had to do something on his way, so he's a bit late, said Lin Feng. The leader was astonished, a high-level saint who had terrifying fighting abilities. That person was definitely worth waiting for. Since it's that way, let's wait for him, said the cultivator. Everybody agreed readily. Lin Feng was a bit relieved. However, 1 hour later, many people frowned. He's not here yet? Just wait, he'll be here soon, replied Lin Feng. You have no notion of time. Let's forget it, let's go, said that person. Right, one more isn't necessary. We don't even know if he told the truth. Let's go to the godly grave, if he can catch up, then we'll see, said someone. Let's go, said the members of the Fire Shrine. They didn't feel like waiting around either. Lin Feng watched the crowd leave, unable to keep them waiting longer. He followed the crowd and at the same time, his clone told the diviner the way and hoped he'd manage to catch up. There were 9 entrances to the godly grave in the city. Back in the ancient times, there were only 9 shrines, and 9 spiritual beings controlled the continent. Time had passed, some shrines had disappeared, some had risen, but there were still only 9 entrances. Each entrance led to a spiritual being. The crowd was at the fire entrance. In front of them was an ocean of blood, and above that ocean, there was a gigantic fire. That was the fire grave, and according to legends, there were the historical remains of a fire spiritual being there. Lin Feng had read as many books as possible in the Fortune Shrine, and he had read a lot about the Forbidden Territories. He knew the basics about them, but at that moment, he didn't really care about the Forbidden Territories. The diviner was almost there, but one more step and they'd be in the godly grave, though. These days, Qiongyu had spent all his time with the strong cultivators of the fire shrine. Lin Feng hadn't had any opportunity to catch him. In the godly grave, it'd be even more dangerous. "Let's go," said someone. "Wait," said Lin Feng suddenly. His figure flickered and he landed in front the entrance. He had his back turned to the entrance. He said to the crowd, "Everybody, please wait. He'll be here soon." Many people frowned and lost patience. "We've already waited for a long time, but he has not come. We can't waste time because of one person." "Move," said someone indifferently. "Mu Feng, don't be annoying," said the cultivator of the Celestial Assassins Alliance. "The time needed to burn a joss stick will be enough," said Lin Feng to the crowd. "Move," shouted someone explosively, "if he comes and we're inside, you can tell him where we are." "Insolent," said someone releasing energy which oppressed Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "Everybody, this is serious. I must prevent you from going in, otherwise, the consequences will be dramatic." The crowd looked furious, some people made steps forwards and someone said coldly, "You're trying to scare us? What is serious? What consequences?" "Please stop, everybody," said someone at that moment. A figure appeared in the sky, his voice reverberating. The crowd frowned as the man's voice resonated in their souls. "Who are you, Your Excellency?" asked someone. "It's about the shrines." "Everybody, stop moving," said the voice. The crowd was startled. "The shrines? About the shrines?" The members of the fire shrine looked angry, they stepped forwards and said, "Ignore him, everybody. I'd be curious to see which shrine he's from, anyway." "Insolent. Are all the members of the fire shrine that arrogant?" asked the voice aggressively. The members of the fire shrine gazed into the distance and said coldly, "You're insolent. If you dare stay, you'll see who's insolent," said the voice. The members of the fire shrine pulled a long face. That person dared threaten them? "I'd like to see who dares act that insolently as well," said some people. They had decided to wait. At that moment, someone appeared in the distance. He looked at the crowd and said, "It's not me. I'm just someone who wants to go to the godly grave." It was Tian Ruojian. Many people knew his name, but not what he looked like. The continent of the 9 clouds was too big. The crowd didn't enter the godly grave. They wanted to see the person who dared threaten the fire shrine. In the distance, clouds appeared and a strong wind started blowing. A terrifying aura filled the air. Very quickly, the crowd saw a figure, their robe fluttering in the wind. He looked furious. "He's here." Lin Feng frowned. That was Maradeva. The crowd frowned. That person looked familiar, but they didn't know where they had seen him. "It's Maradeva," said someone suddenly. The members of the fire shrine frowned when they saw it was Maradeva. He hadn't appeared for a very long time. He always appeared as the diviner. Most people had forgotten about Maradeva. "Qiongyu, go to the godly grave first," said the members of the fire shrine to Qiongyu and the others. They understood something unusual was going on. What did Maradeva want to do? At that moment, a terrifying sword strength arose with a hum. The crowd shook and looked at Tian Ruojian. They hadn't thought this guy was so strong, and they were together. "Bastard!" shouted Maradeva explosively. The atmosphere became illusionary. "Maradeva, what is this supposed to mean?" swore a strong cultivator of the fire shrine. "I've told you, the fortune shrine has lost patience," said Maradeva coldly. A gigantic hand descended from the sky. At the same time, Tian Ruojian released terrifying sword energies. Lin Feng took out a dazzling sword. It was time to capture Qiongyu, finally. Chapter 2376, Chasing. Maradeva, formerly the Fiend, now Fortune Shrine's diviner, is here, blurted out the crowd when they saw this. The Fortune Shrine and the Fire Shrine were directly confronting one another. Mu Feng had been wasting time for Maradeva to arrive. "You dare act that arrogantly here," shouted someone loudly. Maradeva and the strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine collided. Explosions rent in the air. A strong cultivator of the Fire Shrine groaned and released even more energies, his eyes filled with killer intent. No wonder Maradeva wasn't worried about infuriating the Fire Shrine. The Fortune and the Fire Shrines were not friendly at all. "I've told you, the Fortune Shrine has lost patience," said Maradeva coldly. He was staring at Qiongyu. Qionyu's face stiffened. "Qiongyu, go into the godly grave." "You're their target," said a strong cultivator. Qiongyu and two others nodded and flew towards the fire entrance. A peerless sword energy surrounded Qiongyu and constricted him. It felt like that sword was coming from heaven. Qiongyu had the impression he was hallucinating. No matter what, he couldn't escape its killing power. He wanted to move away, but he realized he was extremely slow. Cassiopeia sword technique. He's Tian Ruojian. Qiongyu and the two other people's faces changed drastically. They had never seen Tian Ruojian, but they could guess who he was considering his attack. Many people from the shrines had had the opportunity to sense Cassiopeia's sword intent. It was impossible to forget. "Explode!" shouted one of them loudly. The atmosphere turned into a fireball. The deceleration energy broke apart. Another man flashed forwards, lights emerging from his fingers and moving towards Tian Ruojian. "Go!" shouted the two cultivators in front of Qiongyu. The other strong cultivators confronted Maradeva. Since Maradeva's target was Qiongyu, they had to go into the godly grave. Inside were other strong cultivators from the Fire Shrine. Qiongyu felt relaxed with the help of those two. He flashed towards the fire entrance, but found Lin Feng standing there. His sword emitted whistling sounds. A terrifying energy filled the air. He didn't move, but the atmosphere around him stiffened. That sword attack was dangerous. Qiongyu stopped and released an explosive fire. He shouted furiously, "Die!" A fire spear appeared in Qionyu's hand. It rotated rapidly, releasing a black fire which formed a vortex. Lin Feng was still standing there as if the outside world had nothing to do with him. He released God's strength and condensed it into his sword. A wave of heat rolled towards Lin Feng. His skin suddenly felt extremely sore, as if he were being roasted. He waved his hands and finally moved invisibly fast. However, he still didn't move his sword. He flew towards the spear. Finally, Lin Feng's sword moved. It was extremely fast as light. Qiongyu couldn't even see it clearly. How fast? He couldn't believe it. "Piss off," he shouted. His spear continued moving forwards, a fire trail appearing behind it, and flames howled around it. But the sword was already in front of him. He moved back quickly and terrifying lights emerged from his third eye. Lin Feng's sword cut through the lights, and the sword intent disappeared. He was surprised. Qiongyu was already far away. Xiong Yu released more light beams, but then he realized they were shattering. They're broken. What a terrifying attack. Xiong Yu's face stiffened. He noticed that Lin Feng was also surprised. He had been too careless a moment before, deciding to throw himself at Lin Feng just now. He hadn't thought Lin Feng's speed was so terrifying. Xiong Yu, go into the godly grave, shouted someone, landing in front of Xiong Yu. They had to get Xiong Yu into the godly grave to protect him. Alright, get ready to disperse, said Xiong Yu. However, Lin Feng looked at him coldly, lights twinkled under his feet, as he cast a deployment spell. Go, shouted the fire saint. He struck the ground with his fingers, and it shook violently. A terrifying fire struck the deployment marks, the ground shattered. Xiong Yu moved towards the fire and trance as fast as possible. Maradeva and Tian Roa Jian were terrifyingly strong, very dangerous, and if they had the opportunity, they'd be able to capture Xiong Yu easily. Even if Xiong Yu was strong, he couldn't compete with them. Lin Feng was grim. The enemy had managed to stop his deployment spell. He turned around and looked after Xiong Yu. However, a fire saint threw himself at him, a scorching hot energy penetrating into his body. As he ran towards Lin Feng, his fire was becoming more and more powerful. Lin Feng's body stiffened. An oppressive black fire surrounded him. The attack was really strong. No, Lin Feng looked at Xiong Yu, who was getting closer and closer to the entrance. He was about to succeed. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. A death cage appeared and his sword moved towards the man quickly. This time, he didn't use the fast strength, he used the heavy strength. Even though the opponent was in his illusion, his attacks were terrifying and made Lin Feng tremble. What a powerful attack! Lin Feng grit his teeth. His god strength surged out, and his sword penetrated into the cage of darkness. It was a terrifying and aggressive attack, a heavy blow. Die, shouted Lin Feng. That attack destroyed his opponent's saint's weapon and crashed onto his body and blew him apart. However, Lin Feng didn't look happy. He turned around again and saw that Xiong Yu was already in the godly grave. Lin Feng pulled a long face. He glanced at Maradeva and Tian Roa Jian and said, I'm going in. It's too dangerous inside, shouted Maradeva, as Lin Feng chased after Xiong Yu. It was extremely dangerous, but Lin Feng didn't care. Maradeva and Tian Roa Jian could deal with the members of the fire shrine who were still outside. That way, Lin Feng would be able to deal with Xiong Yu without them, it was good enough. Lin Feng jumped into the entrance to the godly grave. He still had some flames on his body, there were some blisters which burst and bled. His previous opponent had been extremely strong. I'll definitely catch Xiong Yu, thought Lin Feng. His eyes gleamed. He had to capture Xiong Yu to get Jitian back. This was an opportunity, and there weren't other people from shrines present, for once. Lin Feng jumped into the godly grave. The crowd around was astonished. How insane! He was chasing Xiong Yu into the godly grave. Chapter 2377, Tear into each other. When the crowd saw Lin Feng jump into the godly grave, they also got ready to go enter, but someone shouted coldly, Stop! Maradeva jumped and landed in front of the godly grave. He glanced at the crowd and said, Everybody, before the issue is solved, stay here. If you disobey and try to enter the godly grave, don't blame me. When the crowd heard him, they frowned. How arrogant. However, what could they do? He was famous and extremely strong, all they could do was shut up. Going to the godly grave wasn't exactly urgent. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine looked at Maradeva and said coldly, You can't stop us with just your arrogance, Maradeva. Never mind. At the very least, none of you will enter the godly grave, said Maradeva mercilessly. Tian Ruojian landed next to him, and they blocked the entrance. You think too highly of yourself, said a low-level saint to Maradeva coldly. Maradeva glanced at him coldly. He stretched out his hand, a light beam emerged and surrounded that man. The lights constricted his soul. He could die any time. He's aiming at you. Escape, shouted someone furiously next to him. That person's face stiffened and he retreated. It's too late for him to escape, said Maradeva coldly. He closed his eyes, looking solemn and aloof, he said coldly, Great Destiny Technique, Heavenly Laceration, die. Celestial Tao condensed into the light beam, that cultivator's face paled. His soul started shaking violently as a light beam descended from the sky. The low-level saint from the fire shrine trembled, and then he closed his eyes and collapsed softly. He was dead. You're lucky I want Xiongyu alive, otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to do anything, said Maradeva, reopening his eyes. He glanced at the strong cultivators of the fire shrine. They remained silent and could only grimace. The fortune shrine had some terrifying destiny celestial Tao techniques. The heavenly laceration of the great destiny technique was nigh unstoppable. It was difficult to escape from the diviner. You dare kill people from the fire shrine, Maradeva, you want to start a war between the shrines, the high-level fire saint demanded of Maradeva. We've been enduring your provocations for such a long time, since you don't fear a war, why would the fortune shrine, said Maradeva. A terrifying celestial Tao condensed in the sky and attacked another low-level saint. That person's face turned deathly pale. The great destiny technique's heavenly laceration was terrifying. The opponent had to have a powerful celestial Tao technique to resist it. Maradeva, you bastard, shouted a strong cultivator of the fire shrine. He then threw himself at Maradeva. Tian Ruojian jumped forwards and a terrifying sword light beam appeared, like time had stopped. The strong cultivator withdrew and condensed a black fire in his hand, throwing it at the sword. Die. Maradeva's eyes were filled with murder. He used his heavenly laceration again. The crowd was shaking. Another low-level saint died. Everybody remained quiet. Maradeva's strength was terrifying. Saints were dying. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine were furious. Maradeva was killing low-level saints like insects. What would happen if he used it against high-level saints, though? Nobody knew because they hadn't sensed the real power of his heavenly laceration. Maradeva wanted to slaughter them all. It meant that the fortune shrine couldn't stand them anymore. The fire shrine had been chasing their disciple for such a long time, the fortune shrine was furious. The fire shrine will not let the matter drop, said the high-level saint coldly. I don't intend to leave the matter at this, either. Today, if we don't solve the issue in Tianyan City, the fortune shrine will start a war against the fire shrine. Are you ready for that? Said Maradeva indifferently. The strong cultivator of the fire shrine was astonished. The issue in Tianyan City? They didn't know what was going on in Tianyan City because they had left for the godly grave a while before. But apparently, the fire shrine had really offended the fortune shrine this time. Surprisingly, they were ready to start a war. When people heard about a war between the two shrines, they were stunned, and their hearts started pounding. If the fire shrine started a war against the fortune shrine, would they win? For both shrines, it would be a tragedy. Tian Ruojian, how did we offend you? And who was that young man a moment ago? Asked the strong cultivator of the fire shrine looking at Tian Ruojian. We can't stand you, said Tian Ruojian indifferently. He didn't say anything else. The strong cultivator of the fire shrine pulled a long face. On the other side, Lin Feng had entered the godly grave, a terrifying fire chi surrounded him. The fire grave was scorching hot there. However, Lin Feng wasn't interested in the place, he had just followed Xiongyu. He released his godly awareness and inspected the area. Very quickly, he sensed a powerful qi in the distance and flew in that direction. He was surrounded by empty space and wind strength to move faster. It was almost like he was teleporting himself. "Xiong Yu, fight," he shouted out. Xiong Yu sensed that Lin Feng was chasing him and that he was alone. Lin Feng's qi wasn't very powerful, he seemed weak. However, his saint's weapon was ancient and strange, terrifyingly powerful, and his strength was also strange. Xiong Yu didn't stop, continuing to fly forwards. Even if he was going to fight against Lin Feng, he didn't want to fight next to the entrance. He wanted to get further in, otherwise, if Maradeva and Tian Ruojian entered, he'd be in danger, he couldn't compete with them. Besides, he didn't understand why Maradeva and Tian Ruojian wanted to capture him. Fortune Shrine. Xiong Yu's eyes twinkled. The qi in this place was terrifying and desolate. They both continued moving, Lin Feng slowly catching up. At that moment, in Tianyan City, the members of the Fire Shrine and the Fortune Shrine were still silent. However, at that moment, on the Fire Shrine side, someone suddenly released an ice-cold qi. Suddenly, he looked at the diviner coldly. "Maradeva, you killed people from our shrine with your real body," shouted that strong cultivator, breaking the silence. The crowd was stupefied, especially the members of the Fire Shrine. Maradeva's real body? Some old people knew that Maradeva had been practicing in seclusion with his real body. Was he out again? The diviner looked back at him calmly. "You're chasing Xiong Yu to kill him," that person's qi was becoming colder and colder. "Back in the days, during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, you attacked my disciple. After that, you continued chasing him. Do you think the Fortune Shrine would let you do that forever patiently?" "You're ridiculous," said the diviner indifferently, "release him now and we'll leave, and of course, we'll stop chasing Xiong Yu." "Release him? Make him come here," said that cultivator coldly. "It seems that there's no space for negotiation," said the diviner indifferently. Everybody remained silent again. However, the members of the Fire Shrine felt pressured now. The Fortune Shrine was starting to kill their people. They were chasing Xiong Yu, trying to threaten them by using Xiong Yu as a hostage. The only thing they could do was wait and see if Xiong Yu could escape. "Maradeva, if anything happens to Xiong Yu, you'll pay the price for it," said the strong cultivator of the Fire Shrine coldly. The diviner looked back at him coldly and said, "You think we're desperate in taking huge risks? We've already started killing your people. If anything happens to Zhetian, the Fortune Shrine will start a real war against the Fire Shrine." When Maradeva said that, everybody remained silent. There were people from other shrines there, smiling coldly on the inside. If the Fire Shrine and the Fortune Shrine started a war, nobody would help them, the other shrines would be happy. The best thing would be if Lin Feng died, too. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.